never hate my race, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite, I am rolling with the bubbly, gonna be more white. I saw them twist history right before my very eyes. Insurrection Day, it's in the book and it's all lies. But now I am alive and well to tell it. But will generations down the line be able to sell it? I've always been a thinker on the search for both sides, but they label me an outcast and they cannot tell me why. Guess I'm just a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all to be red. I have to protect my family. So why does affirmative action make them not hire me? Even in the countries where I'm the minority. Is my race just that awesome and no other could compete? Is that what the anti-whites are trying to tell me? Why am I always seen as such a threat? To the point they want to strip me down till there's nothing left. Old friends from high school, man, I haven't kept one. But I got a new crew and it's where I belong. Cause if you ain't going free, you ain't rolling with me. And there are even anti-whites in my own family. But I am the one who's comfortable with myself. Trying to save them from the hate so wildly raising hell. Cause I'm the black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all to be red. I have to protect my family. I heard that Scotland is too white, is Nigeria too black? Don't get your panties in a bunch, cause I have the right to ask. See, I'm the black sheep, cause I call it hypocrisy. And the media will give you emotions, but they will not give you honesty. Yeah, you have your feelings, but I have the crime rate. And I'ma shoot to kill if there's a danger my way. So I do not blame the cops, just the ones who are cowards, who hesitate to pull the trigger unless it is one of ours. Cause he's a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all to bleed red. I have to protect my family. So I put my people to death. I never hate my race, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite, I am rolling with
my bottle of wine, you get better with time. I think it's clear that I'm happy you're mine. It's crazy how all we can do is grow. No need to ask, cause I'm letting you know. I just fall for your harder each and every day. Butterflies intensify, they never went away. Love only grows, what more can I say to you? Does my heart still skip a beat? Can my knees still get weak? Do I still float when you're with me? Do I still feed for your kiss and my hands on your hips? My response is that's for sure, and even more. My favorite thing to look forward to each day is the end of it, cause next to you I lay. Always am excited to see you. Your love was a hit, but even better is the sequel. It's always a pleasure to see what is next. I did something right in life cause I'm with the best. If you ever wonder, I hope this song can express it. Listen to me now. Does my heart still skip a beat? Can my knees still get weak? Do I still float when you're with me? Do I still feed for your kiss and my hands on your hips? My response is that's for sure, and even more, and even more. Does my heart still skip a beat? Can my knees still get weak? Are you the most beautiful woman I've seen? Still. Does my heart still skip a beat? Can my knees still get weak? Do I still float when you're with me? Do I still feed for your kiss and my hands on your hips? My response is that's for sure, and even more, and even more.
Drowning in the argument, the anti-white says. What exactly is anti-white? You have got to be animated with the righteous passion of reclaiming our destiny. We are the heroes of this era.
And we are rolling in. I hope everybody can hear me okay. It is a good Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. in the once great state of Virginia, outside of Mordor in the Potomac, on which the sun has mysteriously set early. Griffin is here. Marlene is here. Anglo-America is here. Great to see you, brother. Red Pill, the Latino, is here. Great to see you. Franklin, the true champion. Across the globe, it's Franklin. Great to see you, good sir. Northwest is here. Great to see you as well. Sebastian Flack is here. Jimmy the Italian, Griffin are side by side, 0022. And it looks like Franklin was here maybe first, unless we scrolled. I doubt we scrolled off, did we? We're going to have a little fireside chat. Sebastian is here, says no white guilt. Thumbs up. Thumbs up to you, brother. Princess in a world of evil. Hello to you, dear sister. So has anybody heard about the big breakup with Patriotic Alternative? Now, you will remember, perhaps, that I used to be on a show for a handful of years called Patriotic Weekly Review. PWR. James is here. Your watch is massive, brother. I thank you for that compliment. It's a euphemism, folks. Elaine is here. Wonderful to see you, sister. Hi, Jason. And Franklin and fam. Patriotic Alternative. The great Lunder from Down Under. Brother, we're going to be celebrating you on Sunday. What an epic champ the Thunder from Down Under is. Everybody from Australia is like kick-ass, white positive. Lunder just tearing it up, something vicious. We'll celebrate you on Sunday. Too few people here for the proper celebration. Patriotic Alternative. Now, you'll remember before the show that I was on with Mark was called This Week on the Alt-Right. Tutar. Then it became Patriotic Weekly Review when Mark created PA. So let's see if we can, I'll pull it up. For me, that'll be what we talk about first. How does that sound? Is that what most people want to hear about? Patriotic alternative. Gonna have to increase that a bit. That's probably fine there. Over the course of this roll-in, if you would like to ask me a question, make a comment. I've been having some disputes with people on Twitter. Maybe you're one of them. You can do so respectfully here. If you do it respectfully, my troll slayers will leave your head on your shoulders. You may tag me as No White Guilt. Please do that so I'll see it. Otherwise, you may financially gift as well over the course of this roll-in. I'll be sharing some valuable information to you, to the totality of the white sympathetic sphere. You can do that on Entropy, which is up and running, and the URL for that is in the description. Also, in Cash over at Odyssey, in the description. At Cryptocurrency of DLive's Cryptocurrency at DLive in the description. Same with Odyssey there. And finally, Cash over at Cash App. And I'll be keeping an eye on all of these platforms. If you would like to financially gift with cryptocurrency to one of my wallets that I use, that I will recognize next Sunday, you can go over to nowhiteguilt.org, and I will instruct you then to go to the financial gift tab. As you scroll down, you'll see those wallets. You'll also see a snail mail address. We hope that you will avail yourself of these opportunities. Looks like I missed a lemon from Board Troll on Sunday. Here gave me a lemon's worth of cryptocurrency over there at DLive. Thank you for that, Board Troll. If somebody who normally hangs out over there on DLive could tell Board Troll that we did get around to it. So, thank you very much. Be turning on the AC in here again, even though it's quite cool outside, especially for this time of spring here in the once great state of Virginia. It's 54, what is it right now? 53.8 degrees Fahrenheit, of course. So that's chilly for spring. And it was overcast. There were some gray skies and a little bit of sprinkling. There was a good rain a couple of days ago, which was good because the yard and the foliage needs it. But now this like drizzling is so unacceptable to me. Who here? There's the great Brad C. is with us, ladies and gentlemen. How do you feel about this 7 o'clock hour on a Tuesday? Is this a good hour to start a roll-in? Great Lacey is with us. Great to see you, sister. Cool Papa J Magic is here. Wonderful to see you, good sir. Who else do we have here? Foster, wonderful to see you. Jason, happy Sunday. Great turning into you. All from the hills of Southern Oregon, the great state of Oregon. And I hear it's wonderful. They have totally beautiful scenery. I'll have to see it one of these days. Marlene, hello, sister. Great to see you. We got Cool Papa J Magic tossing gems, throwing gems out and saluting at the very beginning. Those gems are for Jason. Thank you very much. I actually, years ago, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to a, which store was it? Which jewelry store was it? I can't remember. And I went in there and I asked them, what if I had tons of money and I just wanted to buy loose gems? And they said, we would sell them to you. And I said, what if I don't have tons of money, but I just want to run my hands through loose gems? And they were like, I don't know. Maybe just a moment of running my hands through the loose gems. As long as it's not a roll in Go Free on a Monday, no one likes Mondays. So true, says Anglo-America. But, you know, you can show up over there at Discordant Dragons on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Yiz and their great panel every single week. And then occasionally you have the magnificent, the redoubtable Fornull and Dragon Synth Adventures. That comes on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can check those out if you're bored or hating a Monday. Pants is here. Great to see you. Who has heard about Patriotic Alternatives' messy breakup, according to the title of this? Now, I was initially told about this by Rory, and then he sent to me some leaked audio that was being shared across the internet. It was already out there. It's not like it was leaked and then he was like, give it to Jason. It was out there. It's out there on these platforms, and I availed myself some of it, not much. And then there have been numerous articles about it. Has anybody seen these articles? And it's interesting. It's interesting the way that the establishment media is talking about the new group that has separated itself from PA. It's, according to all counts, it's more than half, maybe even more than 2/3 of PA. I don't know specifically, but it seems like everybody is saying it's more than half, like 60-40, 60% left. And when it comes to the leadership, it's even greater. And then they said 2/3 or more. I don't know for sure. So I'm not speaking to that. But this is also, and we're doing some like crowdsourcing. What have you all heard about it? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why this happens. What is inherent to centralized vehicles that aspire to a LARP? What happens to them every time? Now, I have been for my credentials, if you will, my bona fides, if you will. I've been almost 3 decades in the white sympathetic sphere, and I have seen literally scores. A score is 20. I've seen scores of groups start and sectarianize, go their different ways. I've been a member of groups. I've also been a supporter of groups, not necessarily a member, where it split and went different directions. So I've seen it a bunch of times. I'm not going to speak to all of the different types of scenarios, but I will tell you this. I'll speak directly to this specific scenario over the course of this roll-in. But I will tell you this. I, being a student of the world, a student of humanity, of sociology, I have observed and I have taken the information that I have accrued and I have used it to inform my decisions about what an organizational vehicle needs to look like, how it needs to function in order to thwart some of these human frailty, human weaknesses, but also efforts by anti-whites to undermine our endeavors, our organizational vehicles in these endeavors, ostensibly in all of these cases for the benefit of white people. But as you know very well, many of these folks, especially the ones that magically get money and end up in leadership positions, aspire to harm Jewish people rather than help white people. And they use this excuse of helping white people in order to say that Jewish people have to be harmed. It's a funny thing, and we'll get into that, how this connects to Dingleberry DeSantis and his new Israeli citizenship in a moment, or in a bit, I should say. But it's odd how you always see it work out to the detriment of those. Maybe it's not odd if you've been watching, if you're going free. Maybe it's not odd to you that this always works out to the detriment of those who end up getting conflated with the people who want to harm Jewish people or want to harm black people. It's fascinating, isn't it? I can tell you this. The day is going to have to come when such individuals are not allowed to speak for us. And there is some irony there, because what the broad middle of our people have been unable to do, fearful of doing, because they have no class anymore, they have no courage, they have no integrity. So they haven't suppressed the violent and low IQ like they're supposed to. The irony is that our victimizers might end up setting our voices free. So it's a fascinating thing. Who else do we have here? We have John here, the great Baron White, who has stormed in here like a tornado of love and bliss. And as he rolls through Kansas, instead of leaving nothing but destruction in his wake, you see everyone's lawn is cleaned up. Their cars have new paint jobs. Laws are now being applied. What do you know? What was white erased has been white replaced. Somebody write that down. Somebody write that down. Patrick is here. Great to see you. Olaf is here. Hello to you and welcome. Media Streams is here. If you're just showing up, if you're just walking in, Elaine says it's new to me. Vase of Flowers is here. Wonderful to see you. It seems like it's kind of remarkable how few people are even talking about this. It is quite. I had no idea, and then Rory said in live chat was like, "Hey, have you heard?" And then he called in on Sunday, briefly spoke about it, asked about this. So there is the magnificent champion, his head amid the clouds, even though his feet are still on the ground. Promethean promulgation, and a similar Titan, Victorian time traveler. Great to see you all. If you haven't already shared the URL that we are live, and the subject matter should be interesting to many with your circles of influence, now would be the time to do it. Because as you know, the tongue is cut out of my mouth. Metaphorically, of course, because it's still there, most lissome, warm, and wet. But metaphorically, it's gone. And so no one knows when I go live. They do this, well, next to no one. They're like, tell like 15% of the people so that it just looks like people hate him. I just happen to be the most debonair, the most dashing, the best in shape, the most intelligent. We talk about this combo, and they're like, well, where's that really obese guy that can't even read a sentence? Let's show up like 15,000 there every time he turns his cam on within like 2 seconds. Let's show. And it's not even like gets the word kind of wrong. No, it's like the word is forever, and he's like merry-go-round. Oh, sorry, I got that word wrong. And you're listening to this guy for your news and opinions. Let him inform what you're thinking. Let him inform what you're thinking. Okay, Stephanie is here. Well, hello, sister. I only know this because of Franklin saying hello. I don't see you, though. And Lunder is right. Don't forget to like the stream. We got to try. We got to try. We're going to be talking about today patriotic alternative coming apart, a mutiny. We have mass defections from patriotic alternative. And I will say that there were more than a few people that when I was ostracized, when there was the big D, the big divorce, when there was the big divorce, there were more than a few that said that this was going to happen to PA, that my presence on PWR was this normalizing love, hope, and redemption, attracting good people, preventing the people who wanted to just purity spiral into how much do you hate Jewish people and how quickly do you want to get rid of them, litmus tests. And that if I were out of the scene, that it would be a runaway freight train, and that even more radical elements would step forward. And this is what happens in Nazi LARPing endeavors every time. More radical elements would step forward and split. There would be a schism. And then it happened. I didn't want to say that publicly because I didn't want it to seem like that's what I wanted. Of course I didn't. I didn't want it to seem like I had somehow influenced it by saying, this is probably going to happen now. So we just hung back and watched. And sure enough, what you saw after my departure from PWR, after I was ostracized, and then my antithesis adopted, what you saw was absolute runaway, purity spiraling of Nazi LARPing and litmus tests about how much do you hate Jewish people and how badly do you want to rid the planet of them. And that's what happened. The chats ran away. People came who were longtime fans over there, and they wrote me. They wrote in some of the threads that the show had just become this total purity spiral, and it had gotten completely boring. And I wish that had not been the case. I fought for love, hope, and redemption. And I'll give you my thoughts in a moment about why I think that Mark was so moved to create Patriotic Alternative, and then how that seems to be undermined, not done. I'm not saying that it's finished. I'm not saying it's definitely wounded. We could very well see folks return after they cool down, after the rhetoric of the firebrands cools, and they see, well, this isn't going to instantly take over the United Kingdom. People might start trickling back to PA. We'll see. Great. Yiz, the unifier, is with us. Wonderful to see you. Thank you for showing up. Great champion. We're going to talk about how this connects to Dingleberry DeSantis with his new Israeli citizenship and signing a bill into law in a foreign country, and why that law had been written into a bill to be passed in the state of Florida, and how that connects to Patriotic Weekly Review and therefore Patriotic Alternative. It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating because one might be inclined to think that there is something afoot in the background of these endeavors, something maybe even federal dollars, like we see happening over here in the United States, not just in Florida, but in some other states as well, and some other groups that tell their followers that they're a party and they collect donations like they're a party, but they'll never be a party. One of Western Kind is here. Wonderful to see you. So in this audio, we heard one of the pieces of leaked audio was this conversation among the leaders of PA. And Mark was talking about how bad his week was. He doesn't want the group to split. He doesn't want people to have to go. Laura Towler was there as well. We'll get to this article in just 1 minute. And yet things continued to fall apart. Let me see if anybody has anything to say here. Red Pilled says, exactly, Jason, I watched how you were treated. It was awful. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for being willing to say it. You know, part of the problem there was the fact that when this disruptive, low IQ, violent minority shows up, and this has been the way in the white sympathetic sphere forever, when they show up, instead of the broad middle saying, shut your mouths, you disgusting bastards, get the hell out of here, you're not going to, with your low IQ takes, shout down the big thinkers, the personalities, the people who put their faces out there, who are contending and with the fruits of their labors, demonstrating the truth of their endeavor. The broad middle capitulates. They capitulate every time. And that's what happened. You have all these people, hundreds watching over there, at PWR, and you have this minority show up to slander me every single show. Endless just traducement after calumny after traducement, on, and almost nobody's saying anything in response. Not shut your mouths, not get out of here, not you're disgusting, everybody just rejecting them. That's what the broad middle is supposed to do. The broad middle is supposed to insulate those who are the champions, those who are risking their lives and fortune and etc., from the ne'er-do-wells in their own midst. It just doesn't happen. Now, I would not capitulate. Everywhere else you see people capitulate. I would not do it. And so since I would not capitulate, and what they wanted from me, make no mistake, I know afterwards they like to come behind and say, oh, it's what they wanted was not for me to say that, of course, there are anti-whites or Jewish people who are anti-white, just like there are Jewish people who aren't, just like there are white people who are anti-white. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear that every single Jewish person on the basis of their birth was the destroyer of Western civilization. And actually I have a conversation that I had with a guy on Twitter that I'll share in a moment, the back and forth, so you can see exactly what it is. And when I would not say this because it's wrong, it's not true. Every Jewish person is not anti-white. And number two, it's immoral to condemn somebody for the way they were born. Number three, it's hypocritical because we don't want to be condemned for the lies of anti-whiteism about white people. When I wouldn't do this, it was full court pressure on Mark, including, I understand I could be wrong, I found out afterward, from this new leader of Homeland. Kenny Smith is his name. Now, I don't know, this is a rumor that he was one of the many putting heavy pressure on Mark to get rid of me. Interesting, now he's stabbed Mark in the back, it seems. I don't know for sure exactly what's happening. And started this new group with the aim of creating a party. None of this argument is said in secret, of course. If it's said at all today, this is not like 100 years ago. If it's said at all today, the government knows. If the government allows Homeland to be a party, we'll come back and talk about that. But they're pushing hard, the regime's media pushing hard to direct all attention to Homeland. You can draw your conclusions. But yeah, this is expected, unfortunately, by us, and definitely not something we wanted to see. I wanted to see PA continue to go the route of increasingly focused on white positivity rather than white negativity. I loved the group things that they did to build community so that people actually had the ties of kinship and friendship. I loved that. I did not like the senseless IRL acts where you're going to go out and I argued against it. And it's very funny. You're going to see, I argued against it. And because what's the benefit of a confrontational? We need to be reaching our brothers and sisters. The anti-white media crafts the confrontational thing. It only ever benefits the anti-whites. It's almost like they control those kinds of things. Let me look at the screen really quickly. Peter's son is here. And who else is here? I don't see anybody sharing any info on it. I see Lacey saying something about Devin Stack talking about them and probably means Jews quite a bit in his reviews. I wouldn't watch that shit anymore. You're going to get on a list. You're going to get on a government list. I mean, he's an all right guy. I wish that Devin would focus on white positivity. This endless this endless demonizing of non-white groups and saying, there you go again. That's what your great grandfather was doing. And it hasn't done anything good. But I'll tell you this, though. I watched a argument once years ago between two overly and unnecessarily educated people. And they had come girded to argue over this. And the one guy wanted to say it's all the Jews. And the other guy wanted to point out that there were just as many white anti-whites. And the guy that wanted to talk about white anti-whites went on with as many people that are anti-white, as many banks that are anti-white, on and on. What mattered to me was that anti-whites are the problem. That's what should matter to you. Because when a person comes out of a Jewish mother, they're not automatically anti-white. They're made anti-white, just like white people are made anti-white or black people are made anti-white. You have to adopt the pattern that serves our objective of putting an end to our victimization. And therein lies the great difference between us and the Nazi LARPers, if you will, is that their objective is to harm Jews, period. In one way or another, it's to harm Jews. The guy in the argument today said, well, look at what happened in the Renaissance when they got rid of the Jews. Wholly inappropriate conversation. How is Renaissance, and I'll get to it, France or Italy, at all remotely appropriate as a comparison to what we face in the modern West and how we overcome those challenges? This is when that we need that broad middle to be able to see, okay, well, this guy really knows what he's talking about and they're getting results. So they turn to that other minority of folks, those violent ones who are doing these dumb things, and they tell them, shut up, get out, we're not going to have it anymore. This violent minority is so effective. They can show up at almost any alternative channel on any platform and start intimidating, slandering, besmirching, etc. And content creators who never address this sort of thing, well, they find themselves kind of hinting, okay, it's maybe this group here, just to appease these people, make them go away. You know what you should do? You should delete every one of their accounts. That's what should happen. That's what needs to happen. And then they'll cry, but what about free speech? Who gives you that? Who gives you that? Dan is here. Hello to Dan. All right, let's go ahead and get into this, except for who's sad over the whole scenario. I feel tears welling up cold and deep inside, like my heart sprung a big break. How's it going again? And a stab of loneliness, sharp and painful, that I may never shake. You might say that I was taking it hard since you wrote me off with a call. But don't you wager that I'll hide in sorrow when I may lay right down and bawl. Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch. Heartaches going to the inside. My tears are holding back there, trying not to fall. My heart's out of the running, true love scratched for another's sake. The race is on and it looks like heartaches, and the winner loses all. That's funny. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Fascist Party, Patriotic Alternative, in messy breakup. It makes us look absolutely stupid. Is the quote from, I believe, Laura. Now, of course, this is written by anti-whites. So, Fascist Party, Patriotic Alternative, PA has undergone a messy split, with key activists exasperated by the party's leadership, lack of political direction, incompetence, and arrogance of its leader, Mark Collett. Now, these are from the audio that was leaked. These are the things that were said about Mark. According to analysis by anti-fascist racist group Red Flare, a majority of PA's regional organizers have defected to form a new party called Homeland. The split has been led by Kenny Smith, a former BNP organizer who in 2022 pleaded guilty to firearms offenses. In the UK, how are you guilty of having a firearm in the UK? That's very strange. Elaine had the microphone. Did you like that, Elaine? One day I've been shooting love, never once suspecting what the final result would be. How I lived in fear of waking up each morning, finding that you're gone from me. This aching pain in my heart for the day was the one I hated to face. Somebody new came up to win her, and I came out in second place. Now the race is on, and here comes pride in the backstretch. Heartaches going to the inside. My tears are holding back there, trying not to fall. My heart's out of the running. True love scratched for another's sake. The race is on, and it looks like heartaches, and the winner loses all. The new party plans to trick the Electoral Commission into registering. Trick the Electoral Commission into registering it with an application using a false name made by activists who are not well-known nationalists who might be on the radar, close quote. That was from Kenny Smith said that in the leaked audio. That they were going to try this trick. So tell the whole group, because I'm sure that will be secret. So you might be asking yourself, why didn't Mark try that? Well, why did Mark try to get somebody else to go register? It might have been a question of, if it's not in his name, then he could be ousted at some point in the future. And naturally, he wouldn't want that, having created PA. This, of course, would not be saying this publicly. I mean, if you wanted to try to start a party with an unknown person, you would find an unknown person, maybe not even tell anyone but you and the unknown person, and then go register as a party. But reading this off to like the leadership, I mean, it's obviously going to be in the hands of their intelligence agencies. And also this, if they can give you a license to be a party, they can take the license away. So then why would any Nazi LARPing group be permitted in the anti-white West of today to have a license? It's a reasonable question, isn't it? What might be the use to the anti-white oligarchs, these anti-white regimes, to allow there to be a party? Well, collecting all of the information on everybody who participates in the party. There are such parties across the West today. You can go out and identify them if you'd like. This makes us look absolutely stupid. Details of the bitter falling out emerged in recordings of 2 meetings leaked online and heard by this news source. A leaked recording of an emergency meeting of PA on 20 April shows how Collett pleaded with activists not to leave the party, which had been the most significant party on the far right and recently gained prominence through protests outside of hotels housing migrants and drag story hour events. All things that should be protested. But what I argued against, and you'll see, what I argued against is not these like show events that serve anti-whites. Instead, go to our brothers and sisters. And that's what PA otherwise did. But there were elements in there that we're pushing more of these big protests that serve whom? That serve the anti-whites. All these big IRL things, you get out on the street corner and with your 25, 55 guys, whatever it is, and that serves the anti-white oligarchs. You're not changing anybody's mind out there with these people looking the way they do, the kind of placards that they hold up, the kind of things that they end up saying. Once their identities are had and the anti-white journalists can follow up on who they are, then the things they find in their past or things they're currently saying when they're not devoting themselves to optics at an event. All of this is bad. All of this is cost greater than benefit from these sorts of events. Not to mention the prospect of having your head broken there by an anti-white or having your head broken somewhere else. Not just your head, but the head of those for whom you are responsible, which is a much greater weight. So you have to ask yourself, if you have such little return for such an act, why would you involve yourself in it? The only people that are really benefiting are the anti-whites. What's a better way? The better way is to go out there and, if need be for anonymity's sake, the safety and the lives, the productivity, and even the freedom of those for whom you are responsible in service to the objective of ending the victimization of Western kind, you go out in the evening or at night, you go to those neighborhoods that you know are as white as possible, as more likely to be inclined to the kinds of arguments that we would make about the preservation of the West. You want to maximize your time. You want to preserve your participants. You don't want people having their head caved in. Well, I was criticized very sharply by PWR audience, by people in PA, and then you're going to find out in this very article that the leadership at PA were coming to some of the same conclusions finally. So I'm not going to get a call. I'm not going to get a message. Hey, you were right. I'm sorry, but it's okay. I understand. People don't do that kind of thing. I don't want a split. I will do anything. I will do anything if I can. I'll do anything I can. I'm sorry. I don't want to split. I will do anything I can to avoid that, Collett said. I want to heal the rifts. I do not want to split. It breaks my heart. It gives me sleepless nights. I'm very worn down. I'm very tired. I have had a pretty horrid week, and I want to put this behind us. That's dreadful. There's this pressure on him, and even all of the ugliness of the way I was treated. I mean, it's still a terrible thing. PA Deputy Leader Laura Melia of Shouting at Woke Tea fame, started the meeting saying, quote, "There's definitely not a split," close quote, but later said that the split, quote, "makes us look absolutely stupid." Collett has long been considered. Now, keep in mind that they're going to, you can find this leaked stuff on the internet. They are going to write it to make Mark, Laura, Sam as bad and dumb as they can. So keep that in mind as I'm reading this. Collett has been considered a star of far-right politics, but he has lost the faith of a large number of his former followers. I think because with the creation of PA, the creation of it, Mark had realized that in love for our people and wanting to end our victimization was the most important thing. He had this past. He had this past of and he came through. This is where I believed we were in my time co-hosting with him and speaking at PA, that this was hey, we're going this direction. This is what I'm thinking Mark is thinking. We're going this direction where it's much more white positive. It's much more community. It's a lot less just endlessly focused on negativity of other groups. And then, of course, the Kanye West thing happened, which undermined all of that in the blink of an eye somehow. Not for us, not for me. But over there and in the US, made people lose their minds. And so then there was this big push to be more rabid because Kanye West had just, now it's all going to come crashing down. It's all going to come crashing down. We've got to pile on now. Well, what did it do? Nothing. Nothing. All of this hatred, all of this animus for the totality of every Jewish person fails to harm them every time, but it always harms us. It always harms the person who puts their identity out there saying these sorts of things. Mark could never get a job anywhere else because of what he has said in the past. Even though he was, in what I believed, going in this positive direction, this white positive direction, away from that. Kanye West's fortune, billions gone. Billions gone. We know the individual who does this sort of thing is ruined. But what also happens is people who are advocating for white well-being, who want to put an end to the victimization of white people, not as an excuse to harm Jewish people, but because we want to save and protect white people, radical anti-whites out there conflate us with them, the people who want to harm Jews or harm blacks. So we end up getting harmed. We're going to read a little bit more, and you're going to see how there is an intimate connection between PA falling apart, in that it's more than half or 2/3 or whatever left to become homeland, something more radical, and Dingleberry DeSantis, the new Israeli hero in the limelight over there, writing law for Americans in Florida, because it's an intimate connection, my friends. Khaled has been considered the star of the politics, but he's fallen. Party officers from every region, including Yorkshire, Khaled and Melia's region, as well as 2/3 of the party's website team, have left the party and started a new group called Homeland. I had a guy in another I Hypocrite live chat I was in tell me that 32 of 36 officers left. Now, again, I don't know. Maybe this has been totally blown out of proportion. Or maybe, as I speculated, maybe people will start trickling back into PA. But this is what was said by somebody who is now a Homeland member. Homeland held its inaugural meeting on 20 April, celebrated by neo-Nazis as the date of Adolf Hitler's birthday. Now, this is so trifling that they celebrate, they have this inauguration for the party on Adolf Hitler's birthday, and then they say that they are going to have this optics and to try to present a different face to the public. Specifically, in this plan to go get somebody who is not a party member to start a new party of their own, and then to fold Homeland into it, and for it to eventually reveal itself as Homeland, as though you'd be able to take a piece of paper and say, you already gave us our license. Now you can't do anything about it. They would put a bayonet through that piece of paper, my friends. You need adults to be in charge. And then the broad middle has to beat down the scum. That's really what they are, who want to ruin, the diabolical scum who ruin our efforts forever, for our whole lives, to represent Western kind against the great evil of our age. We've got to get rid of this false dichotomy when it comes to Jewish people and Israel, that you either, with the Republican Party, have to worship them, and the general conservative movement worship them, or you have to want to send them off planet in various means. We got to get rid of that. We are for ending the victimization of white people. There's white people, and I saw more people on Twitter, more lies from the scum, saying that that I have argued. Lunder took a guy on. The guy was trying to make the argument that my position is that there's no difference between Jews and, I mean, can you believe this? Can you absolutely believe this? So there's Westmen, and there are Jewish people, and there are black people. All these are different groups. Okay, there's somebody in the live chat saying that they are or were an officer. Thank you very much, Rapunzel. Very much. So somebody, Reds, is in the live chat. Tag me, Reds. Fit and healthy at any age is here. The great imminent rain is here, folks. Just celebrating him on this Sunday. Check out that gathering. You're going to be blown away. Bad Dog is here. Wonderful to see you. Hey, if I'm wrong, if the rumors I've heard are wrong, if the articles are wrong, the great Cornelius Newland even helped me find like 4 more articles. If these articles are all wrong, set me straight. Tag me. Let me know what I got wrong or what I'm getting wrong on PA and on Homeland. Greetings, folk of the West. Great to see you fit and healthy. Mr. Blank is here. Mr. Blank saying, what is this PA nonsense, Jason? I don't know, good, bad. I mean, depends on, it's the, Micah's here. It's the perennial problem with these groups. So I'm talking right now about the weeds themselves, getting into the actual weeds. But there is the substrate, the architecture of these things, of these sorts of centralized vehicles that aspire to what I will just, for argument's sake, call a Nazi LARP. So in these specific scenarios, this is perennial. This happens again and again and again and again and again. The exact same thing. All right. Dino Storm is here. Reds. Where are you, Reds? I tell you what, all these computers in here, and I still unlock sexy beast mode. I know the me-nots will love that. So I had to share. Well, I don't see any reds. Looks like no reds comes up. Let's try red. Well, we got of course we have the red pilled. So if I'm getting it wrong, James is here. James says, I like Mark, but it can't end well. I wish he had listened to the guy who was telling him how to turn it around. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. There were normal folks, good, normal Westmen, men, women in the UK who reached out to me. Some of them were panicked when all this yay stuff got started, and they were like, don't go. And I was like, well, I'm going to try. I want this to continue. I want to continue to be like this voice of reason, this voice of love, and continue to be, the ally to the endeavor, a white positive endeavor from where I was coming from and what I saw flowering. And then when, and a lot of these people, even thought, they were like, no, Mark's got to be, with you, or he's got to actually be agreeing with you. And maybe he was. I mean, who knows? But there was obviously lots of pressure. And then when they saw him do the thumbnail and they saw that conversation on that final show and then, found out some of the particulars, they were like, holy God. And I don't know if those folks immediately left or they stuck around. I don't know what's going to end up, with PA. But maybe now is an opportunity to continue to make sure that, or to kind of get PA maybe back on foot toward a white positive direction. I don't know, because it definitely went white negative after I was removed. All right. Okay, so Red with 2 Ds says 36 officers signed a letter. PA had 56 officers. Okay. The date had nothing to do with us leaving. Okay, so Red is part of the people who went to Homeland to start Homeland. We left on the 18th after a Tuesday meeting. So what is the inauguration? Did you have your your new party's inauguration on the 20th? So we have a correction here. So it looks like, or maybe I had it, maybe that person told me correctly and I saw it wrong. Okay, so it's actually 36 of 56. Red Pilled says, I believe PA will recover well and will work with Homeland like they do British Democrats. British Democrats are ethno-nationalists too. And Red says, if you're wondering about the April 20th date, it's because we had our final regional organizer meeting on the Tuesday night 18th, and we're moving people over on the 19th. We're not even officially launched yet. We were just having a call with a load of the guys who moved over. It's not a day that we were celebrating, he says. Okay. So they weren't. Pear Lady is here. Wonderful to see you, sister. No guilt, only pride. Hello to you. Okay, so Red is actually part of the group that left PA. Now, Red, stick around a little bit because I'm going to read some more of this, and maybe you can help set us straight. And if there's anybody else who knows, they can help set us straight as we roll through this now. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit. How does that sound? Leaked audio recording in the meeting shows just how far relationships between key figures in PA had broken down, with Smith complaining that, quote, one of our regional organizers recently relayed that he just organized one of the biggest demos PA has ever done. And Mark said he didn't realize who he even was until he met him on the day. Things like that are extraordinary, close quote. The split appears to be irrevocable. One activist at the Homeland's inaugural meeting said yesterday PA died. Yesterday, every activist that was worth his salt came along. Yesterday, every officer with political ambition came to us. We are the future of nationalism, close quote. A lack of focus. As well as Collett's previous arrogance, the split was caused by organizational and political problems. Activists have been left frustrated by PA's repeated failure to gain registration as a political party from the Electoral Commission, as well as a focus on online activism rather than real-life community organizing. Now, I find this kind of ironic. It's kind of actually almost in a way like sweetly ironic, because you all will remember that I and the work that we do here that actually has changed things, right? We're going to continue pointing it out. We're the only people who's ever gotten a regime's media, a mainstream media entity to change the picture that they were using in an article. The only ones to ever do that. We are the only ones to literally have people's lives saved, that have come live and said that while live, written while live, this saved my life. We're the only people who have enabled folks to take over county government conversations. We're the only people that have caused politicians to spit all over themselves, trying to come up with a retort for why they don't like white people, why they're not going to stand up for white people. So we do enormous good, and we do IRL, we do get out in the public, we do leaflet, we do have in-person meetings, but more importantly, we use this wonderful means of communication to reach across all boundaries and to reach our brothers and sisters with what? A lexicon and dialectics that change the very story in which we defend ourselves, in which we have to be victimized, because the anti-whites have to come to us to speak with us to get us to lower our guard so we can be victimized. You see, I realized this a very long time ago. If you're in a boxing ring, the other fighter to punch you has to come to where you are. If you're always moving away, he has to follow you around. I realized that was a great power we had over the anti-whites. We don't have many things powerful. There are a lot of weaknesses, and that people don't take into consideration the strengths that we actually have. They can't even see them, because ultimately this is a visionary thing. And we don't have, quite frankly, we just don't have enough people who are willing to submit that role to those who have demonstrated that they have earned that role. We're talking about the leadership principle, and yet it is the leadership principle that these same people will tout as, this is what we need to replace democracy. This is what we have to use because it's the natural order. But when they are actually confronted with a scenario to submit to the leadership principle, they refuse to. You see me arguing with people who clearly have IQs of about 80. They refuse to submit to the leadership principle. So I was, when I was over at PWR, relentlessly condemned for not having enough IRL. And you all remember my arguments in response, my reposts to their slanders, that we were all IRL before the internet. Everything was IRL. Every meeting, every conference, every conversation, every placarding, everything we did was IRL. And we still got to this point today. So that was a tactic that was 100% in force all the way up to the internet. What's interesting now is that the leader of the NJP was asked, since your father failed, why do you think you will succeed? He said, one of these main champions of it's got to be IRL. If it's not IRL, it's not happening. Said the reason why, as he stumbled over his words, is because we have the internet. So the positions are preposterous, but it's kind of delicious to have been so slandered, and Mark allowing that slandering to take place. The broad center of PA and the audience, people from elsewhere also watching, allowed these slandering to take place. Yeah, Jason and that white well-being community, not enough IR. They don't do anything. He's just all about selling his books. Meanwhile, all of these different groups like NJP, they all tout their book dealers. And at every conference, at every meeting, at every pool party where guys are coupling in ways that maybe they shouldn't be, especially with an audience, they talk about, hey, our book dealer we have our very own in-house book dealer. So not enough IRL, Jason, you're not doing enough IRL. And then the same folks, PA, Mark, they end up getting told not doing enough IRL, so we're splitting. Not doing enough, we're splitting. It's kind of ironic. Smith summarized the problems as lack of progress in updating the website, the lack of political direction, lack of political focus, the lack of progress on becoming a registered political party, lack of any support for people who want to do community politics. I want to summarize really quickly this, that the big argument seemed to be this: can't get registered, not enough IRL, and then also this issue with vetting, where Mark wanted to relax some of these vetting requirements that actually require people to turn over 2 forms of identification, and they come to your house. Now, I don't know about y'all, but no way in hell am I going to allow somebody, people with prison records, with people who can't get a job in the real world, who can barely work in the real world, to look at 2 forms of my identity and then come to my home? Are you? No. Now I get that maybe here or there they feel like they really got to do this, but I did not know that was happening. And so anyhow, I've learned some things after the fact. Let me just tell you that. But we'll keep rolling, and then maybe Red can correct the record, or maybe somebody can show up from PA and can correct the record. Quote, we keep having to fight tooth and nail to get little bits of progress, and things that get promised to us don't happen, he said. Again, when it comes to Khaled and getting registered, he's got this pass. They know who he is. They know the folks connected to him. They're not going to allow a group of people to get registered as a political party that are going to be a genuine threat to the system, is my impression of the scenario. So let us proceed. Another defector criticized Khaled's focus on live streaming, playing video games, and reviewing books, the creation of online content being a key source of income for the party. So we're seeing there this division. One saying online, one saying what? Not enough IRL. During PA's emergency meeting, Khaled angrily rejected the suggestion that he hadn't focused on real-life organizing, saying he missed his daughter's 3rd birthday party to attend a demonstration against a drag queen story hour. It sort of takes my breath away that I'm being insulted in that way, he said. Red said the home visits were only required for people who were working at an officer level, people who'd be handling personal data or other sensitive info. So there we have a little bit of some input, some update and clarification. There was also a rift over attempts to change the party's vetting process. Smith says that when he joined PA, he was put in charge of improving the party's security procedures. When I came to aboard PA, the overall impression that I got was that there is a massive amount of fear in the nationalist movement at the moment, he said. In PA's emergency meeting on 20 April, Melia said, quote, I used to go every Saturday to these PA events thinking to myself, am I going to get my head kicked in? Have we given our location to Antifa or journalists or what? And it got to the point where we were like, we just can't do this because we're risking our safety every weekend. Let me see. Is the phone ringing yet? Now, what Melia are we talking about here? Was this Sam or Laura? Because I made the argument again and again about the cost benefit of these sort of confrontational events. And I said it always costs more, and not the least of which, and I'm not just talking about money, not the least of which is the fact that you can be physically attacked. You don't have to be physically attacked to serve white well-being. In fact, that's the dumbest route you can go. And so it looks like Melia here, whether it's Sam or Laura, was eventually coming around to my position that this makes no sense. You know, in many places in America, you want to go to an event, and this has been this way for decades. They will pin you in away from everything. Decades it's been this way, and you have to capitulate to that. And then they take you to your vehicles, and they make sure to get all of your license plate, the police. How is this a benefit? It is a cost. It ruins the lives of the individuals. You have to realize we are in up to our eyeballs. In fact, drowned in psychological warfare, guerrilla warfare. You can't act like this is 100, 150 years ago. In PA's emergency meeting, okay, the culture of fear. So I don't know who that was, and maybe it was Sam, maybe it was Laura, but maybe they agreed with me the entire time, and they were just having to go along with everybody else because it was like this big push. It's got to be IRL, or it's not happening, right? And again, I'm qualifying what I mean by IRL. These confrontational, sort of in your face, and the media is able to show up, and the anti-whites can show up and throw. I was in DC at one of these dumbass events, a giant one, and the anti-whites hurled a piece of cinder block about 20 feet in the air. If that had hit somebody in the head, it would have killed them. And no, that would not be worth it. What would come out of that event would not worth the death or the a member of the group being put into a vegetative state. It would not be worth it. We need adults to be in charge. Okay, Red is saying that it was Laura, not Sam. Thank you for the clarification. See, it's good that Red is here. And if there's somebody from PA that could show up, tag me as No White Guilt, just like Red is doing, and then I'll be able to see. So we can get everybody's input, and then we're not misrepresenting. We're obviously not intentionally misrepresenting. This culture of fear necessitated strict security procedures to vet people who wished to join PA. New recruits had to provide 2 forms of ID and agree to a house visit from PA organizer. So Red is saying that is inaccurate. Red is saying that was only the officers that had to have that. I guess, was it just the in-person, or was it also the forms of identity? New recruits had to provide 2 forms of ID. Colin and Amelia wanted to loosen the procedure as they feared it was putting off potential supporters, but Smith and others value the, quote, high trust community, close quote, he believes is guaranteed by strict vetting. The desire to give people a free pass if Colin or others just want to give them a thumbs up had left Smith exasperated, it says here. Smith and his fellow splinters see Homeland as a fresh start. Smith plans to get Homeland registered with the Electoral Commission by stealth. We're going to be getting right into the connection to Dingleberry DeSantis and his new Israeli citizenship. Of course, they're not going to give him a citizenship. They only give that to Jews, in my opinion. In my opinion, go look for yourself. I don't know who they give citizenship to. Probably just anybody who wants to become an Israeli. He said he told Homeland's inaugural meeting, quote, we have got a team of people who are putting an application in at the moment that are not well-known nationalists who might be on the radar. So you see, this is really problematic, in my view. I was saying that earlier in the stream. Really problematic. How can you come out and say that we've got this great secret plan on a call in the modern West? Everyone is hearing it. Just go ahead and conclude that even your most encrypted is the government is listening, or the ADL is listening. Just go ahead and conclude it, because somehow they'll end up with those recordings, or they're listening live and laughing. So if you wanted to do something secret like this, first of all, I don't even know if that's legal in the UK. So I'm not advocating any illegality. But if somebody wanted to start a party, some regular guy wants to start a party, or girl, and they go out and start a party, and that's, I guess, for them to do. But we got this grand plan, is just not going to cut it. We'll be putting in an application that doesn't look like it's connected to anybody else. Okay, it just goes on saying that. And then it shows here 2 maps of the UK, one that shows 4 regions, and we'll ask Red if this is indeed the case. I see Odensire is here. Hello to you, good sir, good brother. Hello to you. We see 4, it says 4 regions have stayed with PA. And then it says over here on the other side that 6 regions have defected to Homeland. Is that true? Four regions of the UK stayed with PA. 6 went to Homeland. Homeland will also have a stronger focus on winning power. Now, that's the kind of talk. Let's go ahead and read some more, because I don't know if that's a misrepresentation of what he said or not. It's not a quote of his. So let's just see. Smith said Homeland will take a, quote, focused approach to winning power, taking control of budgets and policy making in places. And that can be as simple as parent councils, parish councils, but ultimately we want local authority, and then who knows beyond that, close quote. My position is that they're absolutely not going to allow that. There are too many nodes of power that are held by anti-whites, but so they're absolutely not going to allow you to take power, political power. This is my opinion. You might disagree with me, and then just go prove me wrong. The group will try to present a media-friendly image without the baggage of Collett, who was embarrassed. 2002 Channel 4 documentary. Could you imagine having to live with that for the rest of your life? But this is how this milieu that we allow, that the broad middle allows to exist. That if you're going to push back against anti-whiteism, you're going to be one of its opposition, then you have to worship Hitler, and you have to want to be a World War II Nazi, and you've got to talk like them. I mean, all the way down. I've heard people talk about how we need what was the don't write it, the German word for we need like living land. We need land where we can grow crops. And I've heard people and I'm like, we're in America. What are you talking about? That war has been over since well before you were alive. Why are you giving me the political platform of the Third Reich Nazis? Meanwhile, NJP, it's a copy of the Nazis of Germany platform, with just a couple of changes here and there, just to kind of make it American. And so that's how Marx's life was hampered, undermined, because when he looked out at the world and he said, I hate what's happening to my people. I hate what's happening to my country. How do I fight back? The only milieu that's allowed to exist are these violent Nazi LARPers. That's the only one that's allowed to exist. So he went into that, got the haircut, got the boots, got the t-shirt, did a documentary, and now he's got to live with that for the rest of his life. Can't get a job anywhere. He's got to stay in politics, or he's got to be living like I wouldn't want to say cash existence, but not a normal, regular job. If there had been other options, who knows where Mark would have gone. But it sort of jumps the shark, because it's when you say we're going to have this great optics on Hitler's birthday. I mean, I get what Red is saying, that like we did this already, and then that was just a conversation. Maybe this would be something to consider on the future 20th, is to say, hey, you know what? That's Hitler's birthday. And since we're already associated against our will with Nazism, with which whatever happened back then, like literally, objectively, is totally immaterial. All that matters is what everybody believes. Maybe what people believe is true. Maybe not. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't care. Maybe you say, let's not have any official business on this day, right? That doesn't seem like a leap, right? That seems kind of straightforward, right? Because that's, quote, optics will be a big focus. Now, this is also a bit deliciously ironic, because how many times did you see me and the entire team WWB, Team White Wellbeing, slandered to hell over there on PWR and not just on the show, that thread, but then other where they congregate elsewhere on threads, for being an optics cuck. I was getting that just the past couple of days on Twitter. Optics cuck. And of course, I would explain to these people, no, this is who we really are. No, we really are love, hope, and redemption. We really are just against anti-whites, not against anybody on the basis of their birth. That's who we really are. We're doing our very best to convey that to everyone. It's not optics, but here they are saying optics cuck. That slander was allowed to sit on me week after week. And now Mark, Laura, Sam, now this group here, this new homeland, talking about openly here, we're going to be focused on optics. Imagine that. Imagine being slandered for almost 5 years. And one of the main charges is that you're an optics cuck, Jason, and that's allowed to stand. And then the big breakaway group says, we're going to be focused on optics. Let that just sink in. That and the IRL stuff, let it just sink in. We'll try to prevent media-friendly image without the baggage of call it. Optics will be the big focus. Have a clean slate, Smith said. Another activist at the Homeland call agree. And here's the question. So if Kenny, if he says they're going to be focused on optics, it's not about Hitler, then I guess the rumors I heard about him being very much against me being on PWR and having to go, I guess those were false. And I guess now he's going to say, he's going to say all of those people that were slandering me as an optics cuck, that was actually wrong, that it was very noble and glorious of No White Guilt to be bodying forth a true love, hope, and redemption for Western kind without any animus for any other group of people. We'll see. There was a big group there as we come to the end of this article. Let's see if I can fix that, sister. It says that entropy quit. And so we will get it up and running right now. You know what's interesting is that they did this. This is Google doing that right in the middle of our stream. But okay, it should be up and running right now. Fantastic. Well, where did your... Great. Now I got to go find what you put the first time. Or did you financially gift? You probably did, and that's why you noticed it. There was a group of people who entered, I guess had been there, but they became very problematic after Kanye West made his statements about Jewish people. And those people were allowed to slander the living shit out of me. They were allowed to, they believe they doxed me, and they shared, and I won't say one way or another whether that's me or not, because that's how the white sympathetic sphere works. That's how it's always worked among brothers of the West. Is that you don't go after, you don't try to find out where people live and what they do for a living and what that address is. There's no doxing. But did Kenny Smith go crazy with rage? When did the people forming Homeland go crazy with rage over the doxing of yours truly, my home address, my work address, what I do for a living, other particulars? Did they go crazy with rage over it? Because I didn't see that in the live chat. I didn't see Mark go crazy with rage over my doxing. In fact, he read a question from the doxer himself. So this community that PA decided, PWR, specifically PWR audience, but of course, most of that is patriotic alternative, embraced this absolute rejected scum, these malefactors, these ne'er-do-wells, these freshly shat turds to slander me a guy who had been there on that show for that audience, for that community, for all those years. They just sat by and watched that. They sat by and watched it, and then had one of the chief turds from this absolute wretched scoundrel of a turd of a person, my antithesis, on to celebrate him. Mark did more than once now. And that guy operating in Florida is cause for enormous harm to the efforts to put an end to the victimization of Western kind. You can see this connection now. We'll wrap this up and we'll get to that. According to Red Flare, and we'll see if Red had anything to say talking about Red Flare, but the actual Red in the live chat, Homeland represents a dangerous new force on the far right. Quote, while splits in the far right are often a cause for celebration for anti-fascists, the emergence of Homeland presents new dangers, close quote, the group said. Quote, Homeland represents a distillation of PA's most dangerous elements into something harder, more serious, and better organized. It is important to emphasize that both Homeland and PA are neo-Nazi and fascist. Holocaust denial and Hitler worship is rife among members of both organizations. This split is not ideological in nature. Rather, it is the result of difference in strategy and approaches to organizing. Homeland is entering a very different political landscape to the one in which PA was created. The cost of living a crisis and government rhetoric, don't know why they wrote it like that, about refugees and the transphobic bile of the culture wars has created a toxic environment where a party like Homeland could thrive. Preventing them from benefiting from these conditions needs to become the top priority for anti-fascists. Homeland is now the most dangerous group on the British far right. That verbiage is in article after article about this. And that kind of thing makes me wonder. And it should make folks who are in, it should make folks who have joined Homeland pause. It should give them pause. Why would the regime's media that you know is anti-white as all hell do an advertisement for Homeland? Why are you seeing advertisements for Homeland? Doesn't that make you ask a question? Now, I'm not saying, it just makes me ask a question. I'm not saying there's one way or the other, but I'm saying if I were somebody who were in Homeland, just joined or was thinking about joining, I would wonder, why would the anti-white regime media be talking about how much of a badass, kick-ass, massive threat Homeland is when nothing has been done? One could speculate that the government may be to some degree participating, maybe participating in a lot of these groups, but maybe participating and wants to attract the most violent elements so that they can get them down on paper, who they are, where they are. And it's kind of interesting because that's exactly what the secret police across the West say and use to defend their positions of entrapping the population. So I would be really mindful of this if you were a member. Maybe demand that all of the videos are put on the or all of the meetings and conferences are live streamed to the internet. There's no meetings, nothing that takes place that's not live streamed, so that everybody's faces and everybody's face would have to be seen. Because, boy, imagine, it's like when the regime takes a group of people and touts it to the heavens as this is the big resistance to us. You know, I don't know. Think about it. I'm going to jump over to the connection here that I was just making with Dingleberry DeSantis right after I read from Yiz the Unifier, $5 financial gift. God bless you, sister. Normal people are noticing anti-whiteism. I saw people in a video game chat earlier today talking about it. I dropped some lexicon and quips. The anti-white chat moderators didn't punish me because they couldn't. The lexicon works. Going free wins. Kip. Keep it Promethean. Keep it pristine. White heart emoji. God bless you, sister. Thank you for that. Thank you for your service to white well-being. Getting in there, making it happen when you know the anti-whites don't want us to be making it happen. Lunder in the question widget says, Raymond Foster was kicked off of the national park he was staying on, oh my God, by an anti-white aboriginal. What we decided to now call dream timers park ranger, simply because he is white. Wow. Please reach out with love and positive energy for Raymond Foster, the great Raymond Foster, who, when he was in, more stable times, and this is why it's so important that we keep our activists stable, fed, paid, and active for white well-being. He did tremendous things in service to white well-being, and he will again. But you can see with this kind of stuff right here. So I'll reach out to him. Thank you for that news. And finally, we have Yiz again, $5 more here. She says, yes, I left the previous entropy. It should show up in your revenue tab. It did, sister. As for optics, she says, if you're acting morally and speak the truth with sincerity, you don't need optics. Amen to that. Exactly. You only need optics if you have something to hide. Go free and leave optics behind. White heart emoji. Amen, sister. So beautifully, absolutely beautifully put. All right. Let's go on to Governor Dingleberry DeSantis. I had people reach out to me and they were like, you got to be like regular MAGA people. And they're like, you got to be kidding. He didn't go to Israel to sign a bill into law. And I was like, oh yeah, the same bill that we covered on my channel right here that we talked about. Let me see if Red has any clarification. Victorian Time Traveler says, naming them ruins you. That's Ye's Law. Y-E-S. Ye's Law. Honestly, I was a little bit annoyed that Mr. Johnny-come-lately got the law named after him when I had been ruining my life long before. It's sad. It's true, but it's sad. Victorian Time Traveler was he was a crutcher. He was a namer like so many others, and ruining his life. And then what's happened since? Just ask him. Since he's gone free, how he's turned everybody around. Now folks will listen to him. Now the family loves him. Now everything has changed. Red is here. He says, we certainly don't see it as an advertisement, but we're very public about keeping the wrong types of people out. We reject a lot of people from PA for the same reasons. Interesting. Well, you know what I would like? Let's see if Homeland will, if anybody from Homeland or the membership or whatever will express outrage at what happened to No White Guilt over there on PWR. Okay, Yiz says, yes, that's what happens sometimes with entropy, Google interfering. What a surprise, right? It's not as clear-cut, says Red, as the regional map they gave. A lot of core people left from all of the regions. The ones they highlighted for Homeland is where most of the people left. Thank you for the clarification. We're not concerned about the recordings of the meetings getting out. PA put their recording on Radio Albion, and we put ours on the Telegram chat. It wasn't secretive. It wasn't secretive. So that's a clarification. All right. James writes here, says, I sent you a Cash App as a small thank you for helping me to not become an antique nationalist. I was hoping I could meet you at a future PA meeting in the UK, but alas, my brother, I'll be coming back to the UK because they're not going to block me from the UK as a lover of Western kind and welcoming everyone of every background to help us defeat anti-whiteism. Not yet. It hasn't gotten that bad yet. I will come over there. We will meet in person, brother. Let me check Cash App for that right now. And thank you so much for that financial gift. As I get ready to read, Governor Ron DeSantis signs legislation in Israel further combating anti-Semitism. I wonder if you really wanted to, should a petition be started to unseat DeSantis for this? Isn't this some kind of a deep treason to the country you're in? Could you imagine legislators from Italy coming to America to sign their bills into law? And America's the superpower of the world. America gives a massive number of aid, support, and trade with Italy. At least it kind of seems like, well, yeah, that's the big boy on the block. This has got to be some sort of deep treason. And we'll read about it. And just why was he over there signing this into law? Why? You probably have the wrong answer. All right. This is the screen went crazy, folks. On Cash App, James financially gifting, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get out the 007s. 007, some raucous emojis for this guy. A true champion over there in UK, as we have great folks over there. Wonderful people, true heroes, Westmen, true heroes of the West. God bless you, James. He says here with $62.37. Big raucous emojis, please. Drop some crowns on this man across the pond. $62.37 says, for staying true. Brother, I'm going to tell you right that I honor that 1,000,000 times over. Thank you so much. Because you obviously could see the pressure that was put on me by all of those people. All those people. Capitulate, Jason. Just capitulate. All the slanders, the doxing, the death threats. You saw all that. $62.37 for staying true. God bless you, man, for that. For noticing it and mentioning it. I appreciate that. That's the kind of thing, folks, that like is in our storybooks. When somebody stands up and is like, no, this is obviously the right thing. And now I'll be proven right again and again. This is obviously the right thing. And then all these people fall on them. The honorable step up and they say, wow, well done. That was awful. So God bless you. I honor you back with as much respect, James. Thank you for that. Keep those raucous emojis going for our very own cool Papa J Magic. 07s, 007s. God bless you all. God bless you. $25 financial gift. Thank you so much, good brother. He says with those $25, Go Free is a beacon of light for the West. I thank you. Cheers to the both of you. Thank you very much for that. It's a beacon of light for the West. And that's what we're going to continue to be. And I'm going to continue to stand up and speak out against, and I will put this on the screen, this conversation. Actually, will it show me this whole conversation here? I want to put this conversation on the screen so you can see how one of these conversations plays out. All right. Yeah, it looks like it might work. Okay. Let's move this. Where can I put it? I guess I'll shrink it. So you'll see I'm going to continue standing up against the violently minded. Some of these folks are just really misguided, and they've fallen for false leadership. They've fallen for false ideas, false vehicles, and we need to be there for them when they are willing to take our hands and come out of the nonsense, the childishness. But I'm going to continue to stand up no matter how many threats they hurl at me and what they're going to do. I'm going to continue. And if we come together, we'll be able to finally create the division between those who honestly in love stand up for Western kind, stand up for the West to put an end to our victimization, which can be had, draw a stark line of division between those and the malefactors who just want to harm Jews or blacks or Hispanics or Arabs or whatever with the excuse of, oh, white people are being harmed by this. They're going to have to find a new excuse, because the defense of Western kind, Western civilization, that's ours. That's what we want to put an end. We want to put an end to that victimization. Jerusalem. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis visited Israel as part of his international trade mission, where he signed House Bill 269. Does anybody remember House Bill 269? We covered that here. How did that come about? Why was that written? Before House Bill 269, there was no House Bill 269. For all of those years in Florida. So something caused it. Something out there caused it. And there was someone here, and many of you who are going free, who were able to predict this kind of a thing. If this happens, this will happen. And then when these anti-Jews, which is what they are. But I don't use anti-Semitic because it's a mean pathogen. They're anti-Jews. They are haters of Jews. That's what they are. When they started doing their really vulgar and nasty stuff in Florida, they were totally embraced by PWR. They were totally embraced by the audience there. I mean, it's just a fact. Jason's not slandering anybody. It's just a fact. They were totally embraced. And everywhere we turned, I was attacked for not being just like them and embracing them, being the antithesis of them. This is the same PA that once they pushed me out, it was a runaway train of hating on the Jewish race, the Jewish people, of purity spiraling. How much can you Nazi LARP? That's not Nazi LARPing enough. Totally predictable, that then led to a sectarianizing of that group. Signed HB 269, Governor DeSantis has once again made Florida a leader on protecting religious liberty and the state of Israel, both in the United States and around the world. To read a summary of the bill, click here. We know what the summary was. I read it to you. So, quick question, pop quiz. Is DeSantis in Israel signing this because of the Jews, or is he in Israel signing this bill into law because of the Jew haters, because of the haters of Jewish people? If you said B, you're right. Quote, in 2019, I had the opportunity here in Israel to sign into law. So he's going to go on. He's got so much he wants to talk about of his service to very powerful groups. That wouldn't it be nice if we were so connected and loyal to each other? Isn't that a commendable thing? Isn't it a wonderful thing to be able to be in a group where everybody's looking out for each other, everybody's empowering each other, everybody's looking out for the ways of their people? And now when you take the Jewish people, there are numerous, there's not one group, and you can go to the researchers, the legitimate researchers, and they will tell you the same thing. So it's just like any other group of people. There's no like one leadership for the total. There's no one, and it doesn't even matter for your service to white well-being. You have to become a people and stand up for our well-being. HB 269. builds upon DeSantis' record of safeguarding the free exercise of religion in Florida. Now, I told you a little earlier, there's kind of potentially a sweet irony here for us. So it goes on to just share some of what the bill does, prohibiting a person from willfully and maliciously interrupting or disturbing any assembly of people met for the purpose of acknowledging the death of an individual, creating new trespass offenses if a person who is not authorized, licensed, or invited willfully enters the campus of a state college or university for the purpose of threatening or intimidating another person and is warned by the institution to depart and refuse to do so, creating a new prohibition against displaying or projecting using any medium and image onto a building, structure, or other property without the written consent of the owner of the building, structure, or property. It goes on. So what was happening? When that group was slandering the shit out of me, and this is all intimately connected all the way up to the government of Florida, when they were slandering me for wanting to put an end to the victimization of white people and not want to end Jewish people, they were out in the streets harassing Jewish people, driving away in their Honda, just regular folks, because those are the people they can get at, of course, saying the most revolting things, like, I've got a grill and get in it. That's so funny. That's so funny. So, again, isn't it interesting how these groups, again and again, who are the most vehement haters of Jewish people, that every time they get really active, they're able to shut out anyone who says, no, we shouldn't be white negative. We shouldn't be focused on these other people. Focus on us instead. They're able to shout them out, shut them down. There goes no white guilt. And then further outcome from their activities is a new law goes into place that can, by radical anti-whites, be used against white people like me. How? Anti-whites always dilate the law. I'm not going to be talking about the warts of other races. I never have. That's not what we do. But you will see instances where anti-whites will use this law. They will attempt to use this law for folks who are advocating for the end of our victimization. So, once again, have these haters of Jewish people done anything to harm Jews? No. Remember, that's their stated objective in so many words. Do they ever harm Jews? No. Who do they harm? White people. Why haven't you had enough? Is it harder for you to go into your family, to go to your workplace, to go out on the street and talk about white well-being because of people like this? Is it harder for you or easier for you? Has the language in the mouths of the people out there, what they know about those who advocate for white people, has it made it more accommodating to you or unaccommodating? It's time to put an end to this victimization of Western kind by way of arguments to harm Jewish people or Black people or Arab people or whatever. It's time to put an end to it. It's time to say enough is enough. You're seeing now, finally, you thought the divorce was over when I was ostracized, our community was ostracized from PWR and PA. You thought the story was over. Well, now it seems to be finally wrapping up. Now you finally are seeing the fruits, the literal fruits of Kanye West's anti-Jew statements that drove these haters of Jews, Nazi LARPers, insane, who then came after yours truly and this community, Team White Wellbeing, and anybody else out there that was just trying to be white positive, slandering the shit out of them, threatening them, etc., causing me and this community to be ostracized from a place that was becoming increasingly white positive, drove that place to the moon with a purity spiral of hatred of Jews, caused a division. Now, imagine if PA had continued to grow and had become increasingly white positive. I want you to imagine that for a moment. It never happened. It never happened because of this scum at the very bottom, step by step. So PA, on its way to becoming more and more white positive, I know to the chagrin of some, a minority of the participants and members, on its way to becoming white positive and growing and growing and growing, is now fractured because they capitulated to these Jew haters, these folks who hate Jews. That organization growing fractured. We ostracized from it. And the governor in the state where the biggest loudmouths from that community now signs into law in a foreign country a bill that can be used as by way of dilation to ensnare with a third class felony. That's the same as child molestation. Class 3 felony for standing up for white people. So, how much more fucking evidence do you need that I am right and these motherfuckers are scum and need to be rejected for good? How much more evidence do you need? I mean, who is left in their camp but the people on the payroll of anti-whites and the most criminally insane? PA, maybe this is the beginning of the end, maybe not, but they're a shadow of their former self if half of that is true. And they are no longer going white positive. We can see by the chats, white negative is all hell. And now there's a new law in Florida that everybody just says, oh, signed in a foreign country that will silence us over here. That sounds fine to me. Here is the one potential silver lining, my friends. We've had a very hard time, the broad middle not doing their job to shut down this minority of violent psychopaths. The anti-whites might end up shutting them down for us. That is the silver lining. I want you to think about that. As negative as this is, that anti-whites will use every law at their disposal to harass, to jail, to practice lawfare against people who push back against anti-whiteism. The reality is that we have been unable to silence the scum that we get conflated with. If the anti-whites ultimately silence them with class 3 felonies akin to child molestation, fines, and the rest, if they end up silencing them, good. The white race needs champions that are based in love, hope, and redemption, honor and dignity, that can speak before every single group, that will welcome people from every single group who want to help us push back against our victimization. That's what the white race deserves. This cancer of these Nazi LARPers has to be excised. This is what the scum did as a result of fine, this anti-white fine in the Florida legislature moving forward with this bill. They decided that they were going to go to war against a sheriff who said he was not going to have it in his county because it was primarily happening in this Volusia County. Florida sheriff's on the warpath against neo-Nazis, which he also called scumbags, who want him dead. All over the country, these neo-Nazis, probably the same ones who threaten my life, lives of my family, slandering me, started attacking the sheriff. I mean, can you imagine? What the sheriff did was we put up their photos, he said, of the people who were painting these swastikas on buildings and all this sort of thing, talked about their arrest records and let everybody know what a bunch of reprehensible thugs were in our community and what they were up to. After that, he recalled, all hell broke loose. The movement's leaders recently relocated to California, or from California. I'm just skimming down through here. Online after the press conference, several men started making death threats against Chitwood, the sheriff, even harassing his daughter and sending SWAT teams to his parents' house. That's funny, right? That's funny. Except that it prevents you from being able to advocate for white well-being. It prevents you from being able to get into that PTA, parent-teacher administration meeting, from being able to go to the county board and saying, you're not going to victimize the white kids in the school anymore with this filth. Because they say, oh, you must be one of those folks who were death threatening the sheriff's daughter in Florida. You must be one of them. Anti-Jewish groups began planning to hold public demonstrations to oppose this sheriff specifically, which Chitwood's intelligence determined was set for this past weekend on Ormond Beach. So Chitwood decided to fight back, thanks in part to his corralling 3 men in 3 different states, California, Connecticut, and New Jersey. You know what I'd like to find out is, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys have some sort of background that would be a bit of a surprise to folks. They were arrested and charged with making online death threats against this sheriff. 2 of the 3 have already been expedited to Volusia County. No, extradited. On Saturday, the sheriff went to the airport to personally welcome one of the men. He hopes to send a message to hate groups more generally that he intends to keep up the heat. You know what? These folks are, they are murder groups, not just hate groups. I mean, what do they talk about all the time? It's nothing but bile for an entire group of people based on their birth. It has nothing to do with the white race. They have nothing to do with the white race. So there you have, these were the people here that I was slandered for, death threated, doxxed, and expelled from PWR and PA, who got their way over there, who caused this virtue spiral to take place, or purity spiral, sorry, litmus test galore, that now divided PA, crushing it, totally ridding it of white positivity. Any more support for such people? Yiz the Unifier back again, $3 more. She says, I think there are plenty of good people involved with PA. I've talked to several online. I want them to succeed. I want them to do what wins. I want them to go free. White heart emoji. I heartily endorsed, underscore, and highlight what Yiz the Unifier just said. And I feel bad. And I felt bad. I talked about it. I felt bad after I was thrown out unceremoniously from that community, because the white positivity was that was what was being excised from that community. Thank you so much, Yiz, for those great words and that financial gift. We also have a financial gift over here on Entropy. Thank you so much from Mike, 15 white well-being dollars. And with those 15 white well-being dollars, a salute, 07. God bless you, my good friend. Thank you for being here. And let me close those. Governor signs bill that targets hate crimes into law following anti-Semitic incidents in Florida. We're going to talk in just a minute. I'm going to take a look at what y'all are saying, and then I'm going to wrap up with comments about What's the deal with all the simps and feminists in our circles? We have got to shame the shit out of these people so they go away. Shame the shit out of them so they go away. They're all revealing themselves over this Crowder issue. We'll get to that in just a moment. Governor Dingleberry DeSantis signed into law Thursday a bill that targets hate crime following a series of recent anti-Jewish incidents across Florida. The law, which Dingleberry made official during a trip to Israel, makes harassing or intimidating someone based on their religion or ethnicity a hate crime that can be prosecuted as a third-degree felony. The law applies to all religions and ethnicities, but the bill's sponsors decided it was necessary about several anti-Jewish reports. I guess necessarily about. Quote, at a point that you start attacking individuals for their religion, you start intimidating specific individuals, you start harassing certain individuals, then it becomes problematic, said John Ellis, the chair of Tampa's Jewish Community Relations Council. It's not really a question. Could you just serve this up on a plate to somebody that's... Now, maybe this particular guy, maybe he's not anti-white. Maybe he's just genuinely like, holy crap, they're coming after... me and my people, right? But if he was anti-white, this is like the best thing that could happen for him. It's not really a question. Is this really free speech anymore? This now is starting to fall into a realm where you may have a high level of criminalization, and you're seeing the statute saying, quote, we in the state of Florida are not going to tolerate that type of activity, close quote. So the important thing about that sentence over on Fox 13 is this. Tons of people, upon hearing once again how a bunch of these Nazi LARPers have, instead of doing something good for white people, they harmed white people in the process of wanting to harm Jewish people, which they also failed to do. A bunch of people online are saying, well, this will just get struck down. How is that even a thought in your head? If you're one of those people, I can't even speak to that level of stupidity. It's just going to be struck down. We live in a radical anti-white environment that is more anti-white than yesterday, that will be more anti-white tomorrow. And you are relying on the people who interpret these documents. Let the adults be in charge. Let the real leaders be in charge. You get into the broad middle and then do your job of shouting down and destroying the scum who try to steer the dog from the tail. Do your job. It'll just get struck down. What are you kidding me? You're totally ignoring what just happened. That once again, those who say all the time, it's just got to be all about hating Jewish people to somehow benefit white people. Once again, the outcome is harm for white people. Okay. Let me see. Got everybody on entropy. Looks like Walter something, White, maybe, over there on D Live says hello. A hello to you. And looks pretty idle over there on Odyssey. We turn around to here. We'll check Cash App. And good to come together tonight. Have you all seen the Crowder scenario? Crowder and his wife Hillary. And how did you feel about that? There was a video that was leaked, I think, by her, or released by her lawyers. And video released by her lawyers. And it is of the Ring camera of them arguing on their porch. And he is being what we know Crowder to be. Narcissistic, childish, abusive, unreasonable. We know all these things about Crowder because all of his employees have walked away. In fact, their employees very recently came away and said, "This is what this guy is like." And there have been, there's been talk about that, rumors about that forever about Crowder. So to me, the real story was in the white sympathetic sphere. All of these feminists and these simps that appeared, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I know there are going to be feminists, and of course, feminist is anti-white. It's a subset of anti-whiteism. And you know what a simp is. I expect to see these things outside the white sympathetic sphere, but not inside the white sympathetic sphere. So I goaded them, and boy, they revealed themselves, didn't they? Get out your massive, raucous emojis, 007s, as Yiz is going to go to bed and dream about white well-being. 007s, scatter some gems, drop some crowns for Dr. I. God bless you, my dear brother. Dr. I writes here, for Western kind. And he financially gifts 50 white well-being dollars. Thank you so much, brother. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you for valuing me so much that you would financially gift the things that, you know, that I am important enough to you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. 50 white well-being dollars. Toss some gems out. How about some raucous emojis? Some raucous, smiling, clapping emojis, whatever you have on tap. 50 of those. God bless you. Thank you so much, Dr. I. If you ever have an eye issue, you got to go to Dr. I. Keep them going. Keep the financial gifts going for Ace, who financially gifts 20 white well-being dollars. Thank you so much. 07s. Ace financially gifting $20 and writes here, for Western kind. Isn't that amazing? Were you two talking? And a smile emoji. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Raucous emojis. And we have also over here on Cash App, $5 financial gift from the one and only, our dear friend, First Last. Great to see you, good sir. He says, for head bonk nationalism. So it's these people who keep doing the wrong thing, and it's just like hitting their heads. It's just, they're just going to keep doing it. $5. God bless you, brother. Head bonk nationalism. That's awesome. Oh, I love it. Giraffes from Franklin. Very cool. Oh, the Cowboys from Cool Papa J Magic with the cowboy hat. Koalas as well. Thank you, everybody. Irish Nick is here. Great to see you, brother. Dropping the glory down on Western kind. I love it. You all are the best. All right. I want to get into the Crowder thing really quickly because it's kind of funny, but it's really funny. It's really funny to see females and simps lose their shit. You should have seen them on my Twitter losing their shit. I mean, really. And the one even dragged her husband into it. Holy God. Where is this? I feel so bad for that guy. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's put this up here. And we'll go right here. We'll do a quick share. And is that what that says? I guess it's it. Let's see. All right. Thank you all for celebrating. A big salute to all of you who celebrated. Here's a conversation I had on Twitter with a guy who is a pretty typical argument from the hate Jewish people rather than put an end to the victimization of white people. I write, bill I covered, written in response to anti-Jew harassment by the Crutch cult, quote, noticers, namers, close quote, same scum PWR embraced. This is always, all caps, the outcome of hating other groups. How many times do I have to be proven right? NoWhiteGuilt.org, hashtag white positive. And then this guy writes with, of course, this is like par for the course. It's this, it's always these like little graphics where they go find anti-whites, people who are anti-white, who are Jewish. And they're like, look, here are some more anti-whites on this graphic I made that are also Jewish. Here are some more anti-whites that are also Jewish. Here are some more anti-whites that are, you know what? They also eat food. They also breathe oxygen. They also grow hair. There's a lot of patterns there, but there's only one pattern that benefits the objective of putting an end to the victimization of white people. And that pattern is the anti-whiteism. That's the only one that will enable us to put an end to our victimization. You have to choose the pattern that serves that objective. But that's the problem with so many of these folks, is that that's not their objective. You kind of see a theme here. I'm repeating it because they need it repeated. He says here, it's very suspicious to defend the out group. Now, I'll speak to that in a moment. Whose actions have caused the virtual opposite of white well-being. So he's stating that I'm defending an out group. Then he says, really hope you're not another grifter. Of course, you know what that is. A troll par excellence, a concern troll. But that's definitely the vibe you give off when you defend the tribe. Of course, now that is euphemism for Jewish people, or oppose those who oppose them. So this is how the people who hate Jews rather than want to put an end to our victimization, these are the arguments they used when they came in after Kanye. Well, it's the arguments they always use, but it's the arguments very pertinent to this discussion today that they used when they came into and went crazy after Kanye West and took a organization that was growing and becoming increasingly white positive, and they got rid of me, and they turned it around to make it focus on hating Jewish people, and now divided it, or more than divided it, 60% left or something like that, and then got a law created in Florida that can be used against us. This is what they do. So that's what he said. Very suspicious that you're defending. Now, outgroup. What is the unspoken premise when he says outgroup? The unspoken premise is that there is an in-group. But of course, there isn't an in-group. That's the problem. Western kind is composed of radical individualists that have had, by way of ethno-nationalism, all of the unifying traits beaten out of us. That's something we have to reignite in white people so that we can have an in-group. So at the very beginning of the arguments of these people, including the Duke character, including that guy, is the unspoken premise that there is an in-group. You've done all of this work to protect the in-group, but guess what? There is no in-group. The white population, upon hearing that Chinese are wealthy and moving in, or Indians are wealthy and moving in, or Jewish people are wealthy and moving in, the response from white people is to get out their resumes. Let the adults be in charge. Let the genuine leaders be in charge. So this is what he said. This is like the intellectually honest argument that, I mean, this guy actually is the best of those people. You'll see at the end. But he's the best of the hate on the Jews people. So I say, yeah, how does that help white people? I see how you are trying and failing to harm Jews, But how does that help white people? Don't you think that's a pertinent question? It's the kind of question you can use in the discussion with such people, or when you're trying to educate such people who are being browbeaten by such people, because they come up all the time. They appear all the time. We just had another one. I think of Azimuth Clark talking about another live chat where they showed up and they started demanding same thing. How is it they're always showing up? How are they told? I mean, does their handler call them? Do they all still have pagers and they kind of page them? Hey, this is the show. Show up now. Start hating on Jewish people. Start hating on black people. Show up now. So it's kind of a pertinent question. How does it help white people? You're doing it to harm Jews, but you always fail at that. You never actually harm Jews. But it always harms white people. So how does it help white people? No answer. He writes back, how does defending the out group, again, the premise that is erroneous, doing the most damage to us, help white people? Another premise there is that every Jewish person is birthed anti-white, that they automatically, as soon as they're born, they hate white people, and that's just, they're going to live out their life as this two-dimensional being that exists solely to harm white people. I submit to you that if we had a society that all the white people in it said, no, there'll be no anti-whiteism, that there would be Jews able to live there, make money, have business, they would know. Just like everybody else, just like a white person in that white society, not going to be able to be anti-white here. They're not going to have it. So then he goes on and says, you at least realize how suspicious that seems on its face. More concern trolling, more slandering me in this passive-aggressive way. It's very suspicious that you're defending them. Never defended anybody. I didn't defend anybody. I'm saying, where's the good for white people? This has harmed white people again. But he's making the argument about no white guilt defending somebody for the purpose of misleading an audience. Very disingenuous, very intellectually dishonest. So I write back, so you ignored my question and then misrepresented me again. Pretty safe to say that you are not intellectually honest. He responds with another graphic. Dude, you ignored my question. I appreciate your content. This is the concern troll. I like you. I like what you're doing, but it's pretty strange that you're always defending them, the out group, and pretty strange that you're always attacking those who are defending us. I mean, do you see how deep the deception is here? I appreciate your content, and I don't want to turn away anyone pro-white. That said, you really can't see why it's suspicious? Sticking with this third time. For a person advocating white well-being, also defending the out-group responsible for the most white unwell-being? Again, no white guilt, defended no other group. Defended no other group of people. No white guilt condemns anti-whites. No white guilt states the fact, talking in the third person for the purpose of his comment, expresses, extends, and states the fact that no one is born anti-white. They become anti-white. And then it's the anti-whiteism that's our problem. It is the pattern that, upon noticing it, can enable us to move toward the objective of ending our victimization. But he wants to say, if you are not, think about how disingenuous this is. If you are not hating Jewish people, you are defending them. If you're not hating them, you're defending them. If you're not hating them, you're attacking those who defend us. Absolutely craven duplicity. And then another graphic. You know why this happens? You know why you see presidents and popes and everybody, prime ministers going there? Because they are a group of people who stick together. Wouldn't it be nice if we did? They are a group of people who value what they project onto the world, who want to perpetuate who and what they are, generation to generation. Wouldn't that be nice if we did that? You're going to hate them for that? This is an exhibit of how much power a people can wield. Even a people that is this size in number, everybody worried about the white race is shrinking and everything. Even a people that is this size in number can wield that much power if you love your own and work together. And you don't have to harm or hate anybody else. So I write back, you keep misrepresenting my position, and that is intellectually dishonest at best. We, in the victimization of white people, Crutchers attempt and fail to harm Jews, which harms white people. What are you failing to understand? And he responds with another graphic. We're almost done. Your position isn't as clear as you believe. If one outgroup has done above and beyond the most damage to white well-being, and you call the people who notice them scum, exactly what I just said, those two attacks, that is extremely suspicious for a person advocating white well-being to do. Can you acknowledge this? No, you totally, no one had ever made those arguments. No one ever took those positions. So he's attacking and propping up a straw man, attacking that straw man. Then what does he have here? Here's another graphic. Look at anti-whites who are also Jewish. So for time, maybe I should, no, we're already at 2.5 hours. So let me just keep rolling. I write back, why don't you acknowledge that trying to harm Jews has only ever harmed white people? Don't take the bait on this when they create a straw man for you, ladies and gentlemen. I go on. Don't you think that it is a suspicious position? I turn his argument on him. Don't you think it's a suspicious position to hold don't you think it's a suspicious position to hold, given that reality, that white people are always harmed? How long will you support Fed ops that demonize resistance to anti-whiteism? Now, technically, we can call these anti-white ops because in some cases, they're going to be funded by the idiots who are participating, sometimes by anti-white, private individuals behind the scenes, maybe organizations, and sometimes, indeed, by the government, who, when we look back at documents from the past, they have funded things like this, and they give reasons for doing so, to take threats off the street, etc. But look into it for yourself. He then writes back, I'll acknowledge harming. Like, it's not really harming them, is what he's saying. I'll acknowledge harming, and then parenthetically he writes, which isn't noticing, close parenthesis. I'll acknowledge harming them is bad optics and in turn hurts pro-white movements. Can you imagine saying that physically harming another group of human beings is bad optics? And then he says again, can you acknowledge they are one of, if not the, all caps, most damaging outgroups, again, there's no in-group, to whites? Again, the position that all Jewish people are anti-white. Never fall for this. There are anti-white Jews. There are anti-white white people. There are anti-white blacks and everybody else. There is no entire group of humanity that is anti-white. So I write back, bad optics? It is totally immoral to harm someone for the way they were born. It's also hypocritical because you don't want to be blamed for actions by other white people. And whites despise hypocritical folks who want to harm others on the basis of their birth. This is the only other comment that he writes here. He says this is the final comment. Also, he says, the French and Italians experienced their golden age and Renaissance, respectively, after the Jewish expulsion, he writes, from their lands. To say whites have only been harmed by opposing Jews is disingenuous at best. Totally inappropriate parallel. Totally out of place. I write, how do you not realize how irrelevant Renaissance France and Italy are to our challenges to white well-being today? Do you have the power to, quote, remove the Jews, close quote? What happens when you slander them for the way they were born? Aren't there Jews who aren't anti-white? And this is how he decides to wrap it up. I'm genuinely sorry you feel this way. I still hope you succeed, even if your way is different than mine. And then he has this. So I don't know if that's honest. I don't know if he's being honest there, or if, because we don't have the same objective. That became very clear over the conversation. My objective is to end the victimization of white people. His objective is to harm Jewish people. And then remember, we've talked about this before, where I've had people in these arguments, and I say, okay, let's say you could rid the country of Jewish people, which is impossible. You can't even get a single Jewish person fired for being Jewish. You can't do anything to them for being Jewish. I mean, this is so dumb. But let's say, then what? How do we become a people? How do we take back? And they're like, I don't know. It just magically happens. Oh, so it's a God of the gaps moment. It's a God of the gaps moment, because I can give many different ways that things will continue to be bad for us. But it's a God of the gaps moment. It's just like, if in these people's minds, and it is self-defeating redundancy. It is just this, how can I put it in the simplest terms? It is, I guess I'll say it like this. I'll use a few more words to say it, so it's very simple, or as simple as I think as I can make it right now. Because I don't know if, just to say that it's reductionist thinking, I mean, a lot of people are not even going to know what that word means. I got to keep in mind everybody that's going to be watching. It is the simplest error that a person can make to remedy the reason why your life sucks. Period. So stop trying to figure it out for yourself. Stop trying to get your advice from people who are as misinformed or poorly educated or misled as you are. You have a cornucopia of evidence of how much this ruins the individual's life, how much it harms white people, how much it harms a genuine resistance to anti-whiteism. And you can look right now to PA as the most recent endeavor for the good of white people that has been steered into hatred of Jewish people and now crumbled to a fraction of its former self. And the new law in Florida. Well done to that. Talk about taking a poison pill. Talk about taking a poison pill when they decided to embrace those Jewish hating Nazi LARPers who don't give a shit about white people. Can you imagine taking in a poison pill? There are people out there that after I was done the way that I was done, gladly say they deserved it. They deserved it after shitting all over no white guilt, after shitting all over team white well-being. That's what they deserve. They're going to eat that poison pill. That's the outcome that they deserve. Well, There are people out there that would say that. All right. In the final minutes of my time with you tonight, do we have any disagreement? Do we have any support? Crowder's wife looks like my aunt. Him saying that crap bothered me, he should choose a wife from his own people. Crowder? Is Crowder, isn't he French Canadian? Time Traveler saying that it will be selectively enforced, the law in Florida. Quite frankly, my thinking here is that freedom of speech is a Western value, and we can't have it if other people are in power. Well, it's going to be white erased, right? Because of anti-whiteism. And that's why we need conservatives, we need patriots talking about freedom of speech and the attack on freedom of speech as white erasure, because then we have the moral high ground. Then we win every one of those conversations. When they talk about freedom of speech as this abstraction that just sort of fell out of a fairy's ass on Western civilization, we lose, because arguments like that can be made. And rest assured, there are going to be Supreme Court justices. I mean, anti-whites are very unhappy with the Supreme Court. And I am not going to be surprised if if a Supreme Court justice were to suddenly die of a stroke. And those kind of things are rare, but they can happen to people of their age. If that happened to one or more, I'm not going to be totally shocked. But it would be awful, but I'm not going to be totally shocked. Dino's saying, Jason on fire. Someone get a bucket of water. That's awesome. Thank you. Peter says it's easy to get angry and do irrational things for most people. Hence why all the hate is out there to lure them in. Right. Let's knock down in the final minutes as we mention Crowder and we see what y'all are saying. We have the great Azimuth Clark came back, and I thought this was really a comforting and a community type of statement. Loving. He says, one, thank you, Jason, for leading me to the Go Free method and reading my comments on the show. Thank you for celebrating me. I know you don't have to do that. And there are there are probably dozens of comments like mine you could have read that are even more precise and brilliant. Two, thank you, white well-being community, writes Azimuth Clark. The celebration, the kind words, the encouragement to be brave and defend our people. The list of epic champions is too long for me to type out and remember. So I want to thank everyone in service to white well-being. I've found a loving community of like-minded people and Go Free. I may have never seen your face, nor do I know your real name, but we share something so special that it binds us together as a people. I love you all. I hope one day we have a Go Free conference and I can shake all of your hands and give you all a big hug. Kip. He goes on to write a little bit more. He says here, Karen, this is in a conversation that he had in a live chat, is an anti-white slur. Never be anti-white. It's evil and disgusting. And then this guy writes back to him, but being anti-black is just fine? ? Azimuth Clark then responds, I didn't say that. And being anti-black is equally wrong. Black people being anti-white is the problem, not their being black. That's how you keep the moral high ground, he writes to us, and get others to agree with you. Attacking any group because of their birth is wrong. Always point out that it's the anti-whiteism that's the only issue, not the race of the person. So I am still over in this streamer's live chat called Actual Justice Warrior. And guess who showed up? The namers. These people seriously have nothing better to do than to demonize another group of folks. So I grabbed my saber, both hands on a rope, and swung into action. swashing and destroying their ridiculous comments. Going free is a mighty weapon to wield against anti-white dirtbags. All the W's, I need a bigger ship. And he has a swashbuckling flag, white heart emoji. That is so epic. He finishes with this. That is epic swash, my friend. Big swash by Azimuth Clark. He says, listening to a channel called Actual Justice, leaving comments using the lexicon, Actual Justice Warrior. I've been spreading the message of Go Free on today's video titled UVA Student Caught Lying around the 10-minute, 50-second mark. AJW uses the term anti-white to describe the, well, anti-white scum. AJW has about 250,000 subs. The lexicon spreads. Our community grows. Let's get it out. Raucous emojis, swashbuckling flags, 07s for Azimuth Clark over there on Actual Justice Warriors video or live chat, and using the lexicon. And then the guy, Actual Justice Warrior, picks up and uses anti-white. And he's got 250,000 followers. Now, that, my friends, is power. God bless Azimuth Clark, and God bless everybody celebrating the champ. Let's continue. The great lovely Porridge is here with the way Tree talks about her godchildren speaks volumes. That is exactly what we want. People who will go nuclear if you so much as raise a finger against white children. If Tree has ever done anything questionable in the past, it is wiped clean by that. The white sympathetic sphere should understand it goes both ways. Many white people have a close friend, relative, workmate, or associate who is non-white. It does no good to tell them that non-whites are bad. They will rightly defend their friends. And we will defend and support anyone who opposes anti-whiteism because they have chosen the most moral position. Good job, Tree. Very well put. Exactly, brother. Exactly. We have Black Magic writes here, spend any time on TikTok and you'll see that video is just the tip of the iceberg. And that would be the anti-white white woman and her anti-white daughter. And she's celebrating the daughter, desirous of committing biological white erasure, of being an affront to Western kind, of being an affront to our people and all that we've created. Black Magic says it's only the tip of the iceberg. A few months ago, thousands of white girls were lip syncing a song that goes, quote, I like the BB. I'm not going to say it because somebody will clip it out. Over 10,000 videos, close quote, over 10,000 videos were made with that song before the trend died, and they got millions of upvotes. There was another trend where white girls were saying, quote, I love you, black men, quote, close quote, over and over again, plus countless street interviews where white girls casually state not just openness to date non-white guys, but a preference for them over white guys. These aren't fetishes or actresses. They're normal teenage girls voicing anti-white male preference on the internet where their friends and relatives can see. Interestingly, there's no white male counterpart to this. No social media trend where thousands of white girls express preference for girls of other races. To the contrary, white guys get called out for, quote, yellow fever or, quote, fetishization of black women. Everyone suddenly hates interracial relationships when white guys get involved. They won't be happy unless our sons die virgins. And that will happen increasingly unless we can formulate a counter to the sexual demoralization of white men. I submit this to you. How long have people been hating Jewish people to put an end to stuff like this? Has this gotten better or worse? Isn't it time that we put an end to the people who are getting in our way of putting an end to this? Biological white erasure celebrated on TikTok by the millions when it's white teenage girls talking about preferences for non-white guys. They've been hating on Jewish people they've been showing these fucking stupid graphics forever, for longer than we and your father and your grandfather have been alive, and your great-grandfather. They've been sharing these stupid graphics. Think about your great-grandfather's America, your great-grandfather's New Zealand, your great-grandfather's United Kingdom. Was it better than now? Has the work of these folks who want to be white negative, hate on other races, pushed back against what was bad then or in the subsequent decades? Or has it actually made these things worse? There should be books about how it has made things worse. There should be people writing songs about how it has made things worse. Because every time white people are harmed, what would that guy, Bob, the gorilla head, what would he say upon reading that? He would say, it's every single Jewish person is responsible for it. And so we've got to make more graphics about them, and we've got to spread more of those things, even though he has numerous generations of it accomplishing the exact opposite, that tactic. Because it's not for the benefit of white people, folks. It's just to harm another group. And it doesn't even have any success there. Thank God. Because you know who they would blame. You know who would be losing their right to self-defense and freedom of speech. You know the innocent white people who would have the retaliatory attacks inflicted on them at the bar, on the way home from the club, at the workplace, in the student government. It would be white victims. That's all these people have ever done. That's all they've ever done. I want to point this also out because a lot of these guys are very snarky. A lot of these guys are really snarky. And even in like the so-called now, I guess at this point, America First, where they want to celebrate communist China simply because the anti-white oligarchs are blowing a lot of smoke about the threat of China. And so these people, no matter how smart folks think they are, no matter how great of a leader they think they are, they're easily led around by the nose by saying the opposite of what they want them to say. So they say China's a problem. These idiots then say there's nothing wrong with the Chinese. They suddenly become supporters of the communist Chinese. Who owns TikTok? Who are the ones writing the algorithms that are upvoting to the tune of millions? The little white teenage girls singing about how they want to get non-white dick. It's the communist Chinese. You still want to support people like Fuentes and these other writers and thinkers that hate on Jews and other non-white races? You still want to support them? Because they support the communist Chinese that are doing this. You know, the counterpart to that, which of course, by the way, communist Chinese, not the Chinese people. Big difference between the government, the Chinese, the communist Chinese, and the totality of Chinese people. A lot of individuals with a lot of different individualistic positions and opinions. But the counterpart in China for TikTok doesn't do that with the little Chinese girls. Hey, how about that, Nick? How about that? In China, they're not writing algorithms that have the little Chinese girls singing songs and doing interviews on the street about how they want to have anybody but a Chinese guy to have sex with. Very interesting that you would support that leadership. Odensire writes here, Tucker has Candace Owens and Jason Whitlock stand up for whites. But when a white person does it, he tells them to F themselves. Typical Fox News, cuck-servative loser. God bless you, man. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so true, Odensire. So absolutely true. Non-white people say something to defend white people, you're going to be on TV. I'm going to make you a millionaire. All you got to do is write books now, and you'll be able to have jobs and everything. I'm going to king make you. But your white person stands up for white people, and Tucker says F themselves. He wants to be the first one to say that, by the way, in his interview with Adam Carolla. The Great Promethean Promulgation writes here, if you are engaged in the practice, the Tucker incident was 0% surprising. People really need to take the practice seriously. It's more than just words. Many who use anti-white think of it as a defense of individuals, and them being white is just so. It's certainly a step in the right direction, but we need to keep pushing so that the next Tucker they bring forward has to give lip service to white well-being specifically. Brilliantly written, brother. Precisely. That is the political step, in this case, socio-political, by way of a political commentator. We need to position them to have to give us lip service. Brilliantly put, Promethean Promulgation. We have a comment here from a reptile. He says, so I know this guy, and rumor has it, he quietly slips off every single night while the world sleeps. Through the tiniest windows of his secret workshop, you can see the flicker and lapping of hellish flames, the sounds of heavy steel tools, and the scraping of glass echo into the darkness. They say he's crafting a masterpiece, one unlike any other, and worthy of those he calls his own. Through his ruthless toil for absolute perfection, it's rumored to be nearly complete. They say men will someday marvel at its beauty, as it represents the very soul of those who hold greatness within them. Someday he will unveil it to his people. And on that day, the world will know the heart of Westman. Maybe the rumors are true, but all can say is, I know this man very well. God only knows what he's been up to out there. I think that'll have to be a very mysterious comment. The last one, I'll see what you all are saying in the live chat, from Reptile. What in the world? That is very curious, very intriguing, isn't it? What is he talking about? That is very intriguing. I might have to read that again the next time we are together. Who is this man that he's talking about? I am really eager to know. All right, we'll check one more time the financial gifts. I'll say for those who have stayed long enough to hear that there are intrinsic problems. And this is one of the other things that I avoided in crafting what we do. There are intrinsic problems to these vehicles that we see with your typical party, where it's this centralized network. It's inherent. It's this sort of sectarianizing and the ability of outsiders to undermine is a native characteristic of a centralized network. That, on top of it being a centralized network, it is bodied forth in the direction of a LARP. And in attempting to perfectly imitate the character of the LARP. So This is an inherent weakness, and it is why we see it recur without fail. You see things like embezzlement happening. You see things, I mean, it's a good time, got to roll. But we'll see more of these, and you'll see more whispers, more rumors about misdeeds with money, misdeeds with people's identity in these groups. Be well aware that every day that goes by, the governments, the anti-white governments, are willing to break more of their own laws, even, in my opinion, to destroy those who resist anti-whiteism. And they'll do it by any means imaginable. So you have to be smart. And that's what we're doing here. So it looks like we're blank over there and blank over here. Didn't miss anybody. And blank here didn't miss anybody. It does appear to be working still. And let me check over here, and then I'll take a look at the live chat. So the two largest financial gifts today were James at $62.37. And with it, he said, for staying true. And Dr. I, $50. And he says, for Western kind. God bless you. Oh, my gosh. Oh. Okay, there's just a little bit more news here. Red had said earlier that Mark refused to compromise when Kenny, with Kenny, I guess, and accepted Kenny's resume. And Red says the group told Mark they would leave if he did that, maybe. So not exactly sure. Probably resignation. Maybe Kenny offered the resignation or something. And okay. Don't forget to leave a like, says John. Thank you. Franklin said, I think I saw that, Peterson, and I don't know what it was. Stephanie is here. Great to see you, sister. And she says, don't know the difference between compatibility and mere preference, superficially at least. You don't know the difference, or you were adding on to something I said, I guess? About probably, I think I was probably about that point I was talking about the TikTok. Promethean Promulgation says, pray for me, everyone. Well, why is this? Oh, he says he's in the hospital with a serious injury. He says he dislocated a vertebrae in his neck after looking to see how far behind the others are. Oh my God. You had me going. I just choked on my own spit. Are you really in the hospital? Did you get hurt at all? That's funny. Oh my God. I just choked on my own spit. I totally believe. I was like, holy shit, he's like really hurt. He was looking back at everybody behind us. It's like, oh, I did it this time. Shit. Oh my God, that's funny. Holy crap. That is so funny. Elaine says, thanks for the roll in, Jason. Hot take as usual. All of my takes are hot. Isn't it something? Because I'm like, I'm giving you the best take, all my experience, my intelligence, but then I am scorching looking. I mean, I'm just hot. So it's both ways, you know, and I'm not like some of these other content creators that are like 3 feet tall and 72 pounds or something. Promethean Promulgation says he does have a seriously running nose after cleaning up when there was some mold. Oh my God, that's funny. 0022 is here. Great to see you, brother. I really appreciate every single one of you. Danunaki is here. Great to see you. Share what you've learned here. Oh, there's Mestizo Carf. Great to see you. Tweeting a photograph of Go Free on the table while he was having lunch. Reading Going Free. God bless you, man. For that guy. Johan is here. Hello to you. Traveler says, I already told you a story about my younger sister overhearing talking to my brothers and saying out loud so I could hear, I need to get with she writes, a black man to teach Victorian a lesson. Yeah, there have been more than a few. So just ask yourself that. You think about these guys who go out there and they're Nazi LARPers and they just say as many negative things as they can about Jewish people, as portraying them all, every single one of them, as anti-white. And then they have, it's not an uncommon thing. It's happened. And it's like a painfully recurring thing where a sister or somebody close will say, well, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go out and get a non-white boyfriend. I'm going to go date a non-white person. It's like just the most bratty. Oh, that's okay. So that brings me back to the brats. I guess we'll leave on this note. Crowder, did y'all look at my Twitter and see, and maybe on Gab, I think it happened too, where, so I made a comment pushing back against the assumptions that people were automatically making in the white sympathetic sphere about, well, the assumptions that served the status quo, which is that females dominate the relationships. The status quo, socially, legally, females dominate the relationship in the white population. We cannot permit that anymore. And you have women and you have simps who come into the white sympathetic sphere, and they will sort of imitate, they will parrot, and they will say, yes, oh yes, men need to be in charge of the relationship. Oh yes, of course, the guys should be in charge, and the people have the man has roles, the woman has roles. They'll say this, but then the moment like Crowder video shows up, they immediately reveal themselves for their genuine position, which is that the status quo must remain. You see these feminist females, they suddenly appear, and when you see them, shut them down. These feminist females suddenly appear, and they're like, oh, she shouldn't have to do anything. She's pregnant. Oh, no. You see, that is just an excuse to maintain the status quo of females being in charge, because you see, there's always an excuse for the female in the relationship to not have to do so that the male has to serve. Every single time there can be an excuse. So absolutely not. Furthermore, every single one of us know, probably born from a mother or have known women, pregnant women in your lives. Maybe you were one who continued to work, who continued to grocery shop, now that is totally decoupled from the particulars of the Crowder issue. It's totally decoupled from it. We're talking about the people's reactions to a woman not being submitted to. Now do you see all these people, shallow thinkers, they came out and they thought, oh, well, it wasn't a bunch, it was just a handful. But they thought, oh, I'm going to put him right. I'm going to put him right because he's dead wrong on this. Actually, you're just not thinking about it deeply enough. Actually, you're not seeing my brilliance yet. But now you do, and now you're humbled. So maybe you'll just zip it next time, right? They all ran over there and said, why isn't this man immediately submitting to the pregnant woman? Now, we all know that women continue, white women are not China dolls. White women are able to be pregnant. They're able to carry 2 children on hips while pregnant and get the food. It's not uncommon. I mean, it's not just Hispanic women that can have several children with them and be shopping and be pregnant and have one strapped to their back. Not just Hispanic women that can do that. No, white women can do that too. So this idea that white women are just so frangible. Oh no, they got to just be served. He should have just immediately done. And who's the he? It's not the Crowder here. It's every guy. So see this clearly. See this with 2020 vision. Of course, if a woman is pregnant or not pregnant in a relationship, a loving relationship, and she's sick, say, and she needs medicine, her loving husband is going to get her medicine. If she has, for some reason, she can't do the shopping or the grocery shopping that day, maybe she's doing something else. She's taking the child to the doctor and they need groceries. The husband will fall in and get the groceries that day. This is the teamwork of the relationship. And that is something that is the way it should be. That's how it should work. But these feminists and then their little acolyte simps show up immediately and they start talking about how wrong no white guilt is. Why does anybody and then the exact same misrepresenting that you see from these Nazi LARPers, the exact same thing. Had a female or an account that presents itself as a female say, why does anybody trying to get people to stop following No White Guilt? To stop following me. Why does anybody follow Jason when he has no respect for women? Is that the case? Total misrepresentation. Jason, and she posted there, the evidence of me not having respect for women is me saying that I don't submit to women. I'm not a simp. Okay, so in her mind, and she's got like 12,000 followers or something like this, in her mind, respect for women is submitting to them. And she's like Europa women or something like this on Twitter. Are you kidding me? Respect for women is submitting them. Your complaint is that I say that I don't submit. No, you need to get the fuck out of our sphere. That's what has to happen. That attitude has to go. You got to dump that attitude. Had another feminist attack, nothing but slanders, nothing but misrepresentation. So I throw the slander back at her. She goes and gets her husband to participate. He falls flat on his face. I feel bad for the guy. I tell him, go ahead and try to take your wife on because she dominates. Go ahead and try to take her on. Then I actually said to this feminist in our circles, I actually said, she writes again, insults me again. And so I said, fine, I'll let you have the last insult later. The bitch wrote back, so offended that I had allowed her to have the last insult, that I would call it an insult because what I had done was insult in retaliation to her. Typical female, feminist, female dominating thinking. Children in the bodies of adults. This cannot be, we cannot brook this any longer in this sphere either. We cannot allow these feminists to show up. And when they start talking and the simps show up, slap them down. Can't believe that. What a joke. Jimmy says, does Jason have a bigger vocabulary than Google Voice? I do. Yep, I do. Google is actually going to come by tonight, and I'm going to give some lessons. Whoa, folks. Because First Last likes to wear a crown, 007s for First Last. Drop the crowns on him, please. Drop the crowns on him. Because he has now upped his total of financial gifting to the highest sum of $67.35. God bless you, brother. He didn't write nothing with it. He likes Dvorak. He likes the New Earth calendar. He doesn't like feminist. It is, of course, one of the subsets of anti-whiteism. These anti-white females who show up and they want to dominate. That is so. Come on, let's toss some gems. Let's toss some gems at the feet of First Last. There he was in the final seconds. 07, 007s, 007s. I'll throw one in there. 007s for First Last. Elaine says here, smash the dark matriarchy with no white guilt. Yes. Apollo, I guess, with the 11 there for the L's, says misandry has become a massive problem in America. It's misandristic women are all over Western civilization because anti-whiteism introduced them to this to destroy the white family. And now, since they've had a taste of the ring of power, they don't want to give it up. So they come into our circles to try to find a man or to try to find a community because they've been pushed out of other communities, especially now that anti-white communities don't need white women as much as they used to. And they show up and they're like, oh yeah, I agree with, yes, men should have we should respect them. And then when a man of the West steps up and says what I said about, remember ladies, the old proverb, happy husband, happy dog gets its medication, they attack. I mean, he's not even any self-awareness whatsoever. Like they're not able, they're just immediately like, what do you mean he's not submitting? He hasn't taken the position of submission to the woman. I will go on the record immediately as a misandristic cur of anti-whiteism. How'd you like that, First Last? Sewed it right in there. Thank you, Apollo. First Last. God bless you. Okay. Let's see. At work, the radio was playing the song Pretty Fly for a White Guy. He said, I said out loud, what is this anti-white garbage? Oh, good. A coworker then switched the radio to a different station. Oh, Jimmy the Italian, epic swash, my friend. That is some deep swashbuckling. Well done. Very well done. That is awesome. That is exact. I went in the grocery store once. What was it, like 2 years ago? I told you all about it. They were playing the song that said the anti-white slur, white trash. And I went to the management and I was lit. I was like, this is garbage. This is anti-white. It's just nothing but anti-whiteism. Why would you allow this anti-white musician to be on the radio? They freaked out. They were like, oh, and they started writing down. I was like, I don't know what song it was, whatever. It just happened. You can look on your radio. You can see the time of day. You can see what was playing. They took it very seriously. Well done. What is this anti-white trash? Yes, I did read the head bonk nationalism. He's probably at work because we have to go to work. So, yep, head bonk nationalism. That's what they were doing. Oh, that's funny. Promethean Promulgation says, all hail the Jason the Simp Slayer. I know, I went through there. It was sanguinary. I was just like, I had two swords. I was like, yeah! And the guts, metaphorical, and blood, metaphorical, of the simps spilled everywhere. And then their misandristic, dark matriarchy standing behind them, shaped like giant pears, were suddenly like, oh no, what do we do? What do we do? What do you mean? You don't have power? But you were trying to get me to submit. You don't have power? And then they immediately come back and they're like, please help us. The men are competing with us. They're dressed up like females. Oh, well. Oh, well. No, see, you've got to learn that white men are not your servants. White men are not your bullies. White men are your leaders. And when you learn that, then you'll get to see how great the white man can be. Because that's what your grandmothers and they all knew that. That's when white men did great things, because they said, that's our men. Those are our leaders. And then white men, why? Because this is something I'm going to share with folks maybe next Sunday. We'll see. I'll share it again. When you possess, when you are the owner, when you feel ownership, you protect. This is how a man works. When he feels that this is his, he stands up and does the right thing. When he feels that he is yours, he doesn't give a what happens to you. Nada. Nothing. Null. Zilch. He doesn't care. Very often, ladies, if you make him really feel like he belongs to you, he's screwing other ladies to get back at you. So when he feels like you are his, he will defend. He will fight to the bloody end. That will start in him that fire. But if you got him thinking that he belongs to you, not a chance. Here's how it relates to everybody. You know why they keep the border open? Not just, they're talking now about Title 42 is about to end again, and they're sending the National Guard down there to welcome all of the wonderful millions of people that will be crossing the border crossers. I'm not just talking about the people coming across or the number of people, the volume of people. Do you know why they keep the border open? Do you know why for generations now they have forced you to endure the indignity of no border? Because if people can just walk across it, there's no border. Like, you could call it a porous border, there's no border if people can just walk across, right? Why have they forced you to endure the indignity? What's the deepest reason? Does anybody know? Because if this country isn't yours, you don't defend it. If there isn't a door to your home and people can come and go, you don't think it's yours. Psychologically, you stop feeling ownership. And when you stop feeling ownership, you don't care what happens. You're welcome. And on that note, because there have been many periods when there weren't hordes coming across, and yet the border was still not being enforced. That was the reason. They know the power of convincing you that it's not yours, and therefore you don't have to defend it. It's so good. It feels so good to be so good. So let's roll out with a positive thought and deep prayers for Raymond Foster, our great champion, and we'll be looking out for him. And I will see you all very soon. Roll out.
Hey, how's it going? This is Raymond from the Australian Vanguard. I'm just walking down to my local shopping centre, and I'm going to go in and grab myself a coffee. With this. Let's see if I get some good reactions. Take it easy. G'day. reactions have been freaking awesome. I've got old women smiling at me. I've got people running up to high-five me. I've got old men and women driving past like grandmas, beeping and like sticking their hands out the window, giving me thumbs up. Like every second person's giving me a thumbs up and smiling. People are saying, good job, mate, good job. I'm saying, love yourself, and they're like, that's right. It works. It works. No White Guilt was right. It's about time people start listening.